This guy is unfucking believable.
Hey, hello. You know, I didn't really want to start until like fucking 2:15 like normal, but I set the time wrong, so that's my bad. So we'll start. Hi, welcome. I'm Chish. It's me, your boy. So I should be okay. We need to talk about the thumbnail. All right, I didn't make that. It wasn't me. First off. Second off, that has been sitting in the Discord for months because it was the Crusher. So props to Crusher for making that. And I thought it was time to finally actually put forward some appreciation to him for making the most cursed fucking image I have ever goddamn seen. And thanks, I hate it. Absolutely fucking despise that image. It is fucking terrible, god-awful, horrible garbage, absolute nonsense, and I hate it. I hate it. But I figured it was an appropriate time to crack it out. But I should make my history clear. So today we're going to talk about Steve. And this is Steve McCrae, for anybody who doesn't know. He liked to go by the holy pope of agnosticism or whatever as a meme once upon a time, and then he kind of got too serious. It seems like it sort of made it part of his personality. He likes to argue about the definition of atheism. That's one of his kind of like go-to arguments. He likes to tout himself as a philosopher. He says that he was publishing a paper that was peer-reviewed, but I don't know if it ever actually got published that he was working on. He does not have any like classical training in philosophy. He was a nuke in Navy in America, so take that for what you will. His channel says, quote, "I discuss philosophy and science and have fairly well-known arguments in the philosophical circle." Steve. Take the word "the" out. In philosophical circles, not in the philosophical circles. Anyway. He claims, so we've got two separate channels to look at, because we have to look at both of them. Let's slide on over. This is the Steve McCrae channel. My channel is the place where people can come, bring their presentations and thoughts on science and philosophy to discuss what would be of interest in the great debate community, which doesn't exist anymore, featuring prominent PhDs. PhD is only, the P is capitalized for some reason, and experts to engage them in real time on various topics relating to refuting young earth creationism and bad science in general. Alright, so this also says host/owner Great Debate Community and the Non Sequitur Show. The Great Debate Community is long since an old demonetized channel, doesn't really fucking do anything anymore, hasn't done anything in a long time. Then the other one is the Non Sequitur Show. So I should say that Steve has 15.4 subs, just so you have an idea. Non Sequitur Show, so you'll see the Non Sequitur Show description. Non Sequitur is crafted around uncommon philosophy and influenced by simple ideology. Here, bold ideas are righteous, unique perspective are gospel, and informed opinions are sacred. So that's an old thing that he changed. It used to say opinions are sacred, but now he's changed it to say informed opinions. But, as we're going to find out, he's the one who gets to decide what is and is not informed. Non Sequitur Show is hosted by Steve McCrae and follows a vision of content that is rich in optimistic sarcasm. Remember, optimistic. And seeks to balance entertainment with information, open minds, and provoke thought. Non Sequitur is comprised of several forms. Each show features discussions with fascinating guests who are making an impact on our social, political, or religious culture. Some may consider ideas discussed here taboo, but Non Sequitur defiantly showcases controversial issues in passionate debates and discussions. The result, channel unapologetic in its audacity and relentless in its originality. Yeah, okay. We're not going to talk about the thumbnails today because that's too much, and I should, again, preface, I worked with Steve years ago. On particularly this thing, and particularly if you want to look at his older stuff, you can go and find me working on Caffeine Corner, which was a show that basically took concepts and like your sort of day-to-day drama-y type stuff and brought it into like, how do you apply these concepts to like day-to-day nonsense. He then fell outside of an Applebee's. Some people think he got into a fight and was pushed. He claims he tripped because he was drunk off of his ass. You know, why not both? And he bashed his face outside of the Applebee's on a piece of concrete, and his brain fell out. That's the TLDR. Now, we have talked about Steve before, specifically in his harassment campaign with his friends like Aaron and Renell, as well as we covered last week his we didn't cover his lifetime restraining order. He now has a lifetime restraining order, and we covered his filing in California where he tried to frame a woman on the internet of trying to swat him, and he claimed he was swatted, which is ridiculous. Also there was the the whole, we've covered it. We've talked about this whole fucking scenario. We don't need to dive into it too much, but just understand that this is a man who doesn't fucking care anymore. As a person who used to care, it's sad to see. It's sad to see, but you may recall that I called him going Maga a long time ago, and he was very defiant about it. But let's see what he actually says. Guys, should I turn on the spice-o-meter? Should we turn on the spice-o-meter? I think we should turn on the spice-o-meter. Let's go. Spice-o-meter is now on and ready to go. So, let's start with this, because there's a couple things that happened. But we're going to start with, here's 9 p.m. on the Non Sequitur show, Why I'm Maga. Now, Steve touts himself, I'd rather die on the hill of, quote, falling down a Maga rabbit hole in defense of my country, in defense of America, in defense of the U.S. Constitution. Oh, that's not... Hold on, that's not good. That's not good.
So let's talk about this, because obviously you've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your attorney general says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the attorney general that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, you know, and your attorney general has said the issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth, some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as
I
president?
don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration United States as president?
I don't know. Most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
I don't know. I would rather die on the hill of falling down a Maga rabbit hole in defense of my country, in defense of America, and in defense of the U.S. Constitution. I don't know. Than die on a hill of irrationally defending a known MS-13 gang member and terrorist. Not known. How could you possibly know without due process, which is in violation of the Constitution? You're saying you would rather die defending the Constitution by violating the Constitution. That's actually cracked. I got beer. Oh boy. Then perish, Steve. Then fucking perish. Because you literally threw the Constitution under the bus in the exact same fucking goddamn fucking post. One sentence to the next. Then I would rather die on this hill than perish. Anyway, that wasn't even the one I wanted to look at. I wanted to read this one real quick. Maga is right 3 weeks ago. This was posted, by the way, 2 weeks ago, and this happened 2 days ago, so that aged like fucking milk. But, you know, whatever. So let's take a look at this. I'll zoom it in for you. There you go. Is that better? Maga is right. Follow me or unfollow me as you like. Yeah, no, this isn't cold enough, but it's fine. I'll deal with it. Drink counter. Look at the poll options. Oh god, alright. Maga and America defending terrorists. Oh my fucking god. I'm not gonna talk about that. This is bad enough. Follow me or unfollow me as you like. I do not care. I really don't. I am not here to make new friends. However, if new friendships are made, I am appreciative of that. Yeah, well, we know how Steve treats his friends. What I am here for is to express my views to the best of my ability and engage with those who agree or disagree in civil discourse. As a veteran who served my country proudly, I will not stay silent about what seems to be now undeniable evidence that Trump was right. I hereby state that I support the fact that Trump was right about the massive illegal immigration plan under the Biden administration designed to undermine our democracy. So if no one deserves due process, are we deporting Steve when the Dems come back into power? Probably. I don't know, are we? The globalization has failed. Globalization? The globalization? What the fuck? What massive illegal immigration plan? Listen, you tell me. Do we need a drink trigger? Guys. What should the drink trigger be? We clearly need one. What should it be? Should the drink trigger be herp derp? I feel like herp derp is a pretty good fucking drink trigger. Let me get a counter. You know, I wasn't sure if I was gonna need a counter today, and then I got 15 minutes into this, and I was like, oh, we're gonna need a counter for this. Oh boy. Let's see, what's a good one? What's a good one? I could just do a text. Nah, we want something that looks nice. Let's do this one. Ugh. Drink trigger. Oh, let's just call it herp derp. Herp derp. 1. There we go. What do you guys think? You like our drink trigger? I'm just gonna move it. Oh boy, this is gonna be a fucking day. There we go. Herp derp. There's our drink trigger on the top. If read anyone posting anything stupid, take a drink. No, we're gonna stick with every time something that Steve says is just the main response is just herp derp. Like it's just laugh at like then we drink. Herp derp's a good one. I like that. All right. That was, there was clear and convincing evidence of collusion and corruption at the higher levels of government who have actively and continued to thwart his efforts to weed out traitors and permanently dismantle the deep state political machine. Excuse me. Huh? What? It has to be herp and derp. It can't just be derp. That's herp and derp. Note, I am not joining or labeling myself as Maga or any political affiliation other than modern libertarian. I am, however, announcing that I firmly believe Maga is right. How are you not? Like, what do you mean? Call me a Nazi, call me a fascist, call me indoctrinated. I mean, if the clown shoe fits, motherfucker, does the fucking bootstraps fucking fit? Does the goose stepping count? Call me anything you like, as words will not change reality that the Democrats have been lying to the American public for decades. The truth is coming out. Do the jack boots fit, my friend? So follow or unfollow, but either way, I will continue to try to give people my personal views, substantiated with evidence and reasoned argumentation, which is not in this post, by the way. He's definitely going to do that, just like he was definitely going to file against Katie Joy and didn't just take people's money on false pretense, and how he was definitely swatted, and he's definitely gonna prove it, right? He definitely, he'll definitely have that. I can't drink yet. Will I always be right? No. I mean, once in this would suffice. Listen, if Steve is, like, straight up fact... No, I'm not even kidding. Once would be right. Will I get facts wrong and make mistakes? Yes. You mean, like, mistakes like this? Like these kinds of mistakes? You're gonna die on the hill of defending the Constitution by ignoring and circumventing the Constitution? I will always correct errors when reasonably argued to me. Should we talk about that? Should we talk about that and how long it takes and how much effort you have to put into reasonably argued? Is it a reasonable amount of effort? And I am shown to be factually incorrect. Yes. Okay, well, we've already got at least one thing that we've covered here. Oh, remember always that. First and foremost, I am a patriot. So is most of America. Define patriot. I will be using this channel to express my views when my voice and my health are sufficient to do so. He's really been leaning on his health a lot. I have also given all copyright and usage of Over Under to @Hereticals. Now, Hereticals is Chris, who was like, he's, I believe, Australian, who's like a conservative over there, who just got their asses kicked in the election, so congratulations, Australia, good for you. Hereticals was also the horseshit asshole who tried to fucking screw me over by being Steve's mediator, and you can go and watch that if you want. But also, if I'm not mistaken, with Aaron's moderator at the time, Claire, Hereticals and her did a stream where they were super pro-Israel. Now, I could be wrong about that. I might be misremembering that, but hey, pro-genocide, you know, who am I to judge? Who is doing political commentary and history on his alt channel. Did you not link his alt channel and you just linked the Hereticals one? Steve, what are you doing? Put this... So please go follow him over there, the thing we didn't link to? Or, like, what? I know there is a major announcement and one I know this is a major announcement and one I do not do easily, but I will not allow my country to be destroyed by evil and corruption. Oh, that's a herp derp. Tell me more about egg prices and the signal chat, please. That's a totally delusional Steve, TDS. If you don't like it, you don't have to. I don't fucking care. Oh yeah? Sure you don't. I really don't. Oh, okay. I'm convinced. What a reasoned argument. Engage in civil dialogue, and I welcome you regardless of your views. Ellipses. Engage in uncivil, you will be removed from my social media with a zero tolerance policies for trolls and NPC level shitposting. Sir. If this is not NPC level shitposting, I don't know what is. Like, read this out loud. Like, read this out loud and tell me this is not... Like, you at home, please, read that part out loud and tell me that's not NPC level shitposting. Oh, good God. I thank you all who will stick around, Steve. Stick around, as I have so much to say. It is unreal. Unbelievable, you say. Could it be that this guy is
unfucking believable.
It's unreal! I just need to be able to feel better physically to say it. I'm getting there. Oh, well. Alright. Sincerely, Steve McCrae. I love it when people sign their fucking posts. And this picture of an American flag. I'm betting money, if I look at the comment section, we will find him having the most brain-dead NPC takes, screeching at anybody who disagrees with him. But we're not here to look at that today. This post from 3 weeks ago, and then this one from 2 weeks ago. This one is 9 days ago. This is the one we're gonna look at. So I've already got it loaded up. Here we are. I would like to point out that this is, oh my god, non sequitur dipped below 30k. I don't remember if I knew that. I thought it was at 30. 29.3k subscribers. Fucking 900 views. That's fucking depressing, but you know, whatever. We're not here to discuss numbers. Yeah, I guess I'll show the chat replay and keep an eye on this, because I imagine it's pretty fucking... Oh, God! Okay. Alright. I guess Steve still hasn't figured out how to use his vMix seat, which he still has. So I'm just gonna pause that for... Oh, hi! Wow, who's surprised to see Megan in the side chat? Of course, Megan is in the side chat. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Oh, dear. Hold on, I need to, there we go. I'll make it big again. Let's switch this to live chat replay. We're probably gonna have to skip through the fucking intro, because he'd probably be an asshole and copyright struck me if I played it. So I'm just gonna jump ahead. There you go.
right. Hey, welcome everyone. It is the Non Sequitur Show, and this is going to be a lot different from pretty much any other show that I've done. Obviously, the format has changed quite a bit on this channel. This is not going to be a debate episode. This is not going to be a guest or panel episode.
Is he still using my art? As far as I'm aware, yes. I'm not seeing anybody with a membership, but if we see somebody with a... Actually, hold on. Let's hit the join button. Let's find out. Is he still using my art? Yes. All of that is my art. These are art that I made that he never paid me for. This is art that I made that he never paid me for. So yes, in fact, if I'm being petty, the only thing, because he has not done any of these member shoutouts or the exclusive members only videos on the Non Sequitur Show, connecting on social media, he hasn't done any of these things. So if you're paying for the Non Sequitur Show, the only thing you're actually getting is the stuff that I did. So, you know, take that for what you will. Democrats and Republicans need to stop talking about the Constitution, period. Violators all. Oh, this is gonna be big brain leveled fucking conversation. All right, I'm not gonna talk about this layout much because it's a nightmare. I am, however, gonna do one thing real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 different fonts on the screen right now. 7. That is obviously not including this. Obviously not including it. 7 different fonts.
I know it'd be a Q&A. I really don't know. But what this is going to be is me talking to you. Just talking to you as an average person, talking about things that I want to talk about tonight. I did have this similar discussion on my primary channel.
9 fonts. Actually, maybe 10, because this is a whole nother font coming in here. And also, why this is crushed. The chat is crushed for some reason. The aspect ratio is fucked.
McCrae. No, it's not time for... Why does she keep telling me it's time for bed? That's Alexis. No, it's not time for bed. No, I get...
Even Alexis knows.
To stay up. I'm a grown-ass man. I get to stay up tonight. So, I did have this on my other channel, but unfortunately, I really didn't put out what I wanted to talk about that much. And it wasn't anybody's fault. I had John on, and John can talk. John can talk, but it wasn't his fault.
For anybody who doesn't know who John is, if it is who I think it is, if you go and look at our coverage from like last year, I think, or the year before, where it was about trans, or like the trans agenda or the philosophy of whatever the fuck, he's the guy who said we can't have trans bathrooms because the plumbing structure in the UK of older buildings, and it was actually one of the most insane things I've ever fucking heard. No, I don't think any of these are Comic Sans, unfortunately. Sadly. No Comic Sans.
It just, I wanted to basically put it on the Non Sequitur Show and kind of give you guys a reasons about why I've changed politically. And there's a lot of reasons, obviously. But to give you a little background, I used to do a show.
He is not on camera at all. Like, what? Sorry, I'm trying not to pick on the production. This production is really bad. His mic is peaking like crazy.
Show called Over and Under, and I did that show with Chris Attlee. He was from Hereticals, if you remember him. And he
was from Hereticals, or is still from whatever.
Literally one of the very few people in my life that I will give a kidney to if he ever needs it. Hell, I even give him both kidneys if he needs it. I mean,
he used to tell me that, and Reds that, and Manya that, and like, it means nothing.
This is somebody that I trust explicitly with my life in multiple different ways. And so I gave him my show. So he doesn't have to steal it. He doesn't have to kick me off. I gave him my show, all copyright, all materials, every dime. I get nothing. So I'm giving him full copyright and rights and privileges to use Over and Under as he sees fit. He can use it. He can not use it. I might borrow it occasionally, but we'll see. But long story short, he's going to be doing political commentary. Now, you guys might remember I did political commentary quite some time ago when we were doing the elections, and I had people on, and we were calling out the elections in real time, and pretty dang close. I think it was quite surprising that I'm pretty sure the last 3 elections that I did, was it 3? I know it was at least 2.
Crusher bro's gotta be kidding me. Okay, that's funny. That's boo. Time this man out. He's got a wrench. I can't time him out. Son of a bitch.
I called it right. Well, yeah, there was 3. Yeah, it was 2016, 2020, and 2024. So I've been on a long time, I guess. But when we talk about the election coverage, Chris had actually made a point of calling the election to 312 electoral votes for Trump, and a lot of people laughed at him. I had people in my audience saying, you don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy. Trump can't win. And I said, well, 312 is high, but it's not unrealistic. I think there's a possibility there. You can go back and watch the episode if you want. Come to find out, he was dead on right, 100% right, 312. Now, yeah, there's some.
God, Steve, take your mic out of your fucking mouth. He's talking like he's fucking loud. Stop, please, for the love of God. It's really bad.
Guessing there, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he did understand that, look, the polls weren't exactly saying what the polls were trying to tell people. There was an incongruency between the polls and what the American people and the electorate were thinking. I saw this time and time again when they would say that a certain person was ahead of the polls and they weren't. That Trump would never get.
Well, they can be ahead of the polls and then not win. It's not necessarily that they weren't ahead in the polls. It depends on who you're polling, what you're asking, and that polls don't vote. So the polls can still be accurate to their polling, but not be correct. Right? That's not how polls work. Jax for 2 says a grift a day helps Steve fake it away. Very nice. I'm gonna drink for super chats. Anyway, yeah, that's just not how polling works, but whatever.
Swing states. He caught all the swing states. There's definitely an incongruency there. And he said something to me that really...
Did he get all the swing states? You'll notice the elephant in the pine tree in the fucking bottom, but it's okay, we're not going to talk about that today.
Kind of changed my outlook on things. I knew he was right-leaning, obviously. I've always been a centrist, as you guys know, for the most part. My mom was a Democrat, but she voted Republican. My dad was a Republican and voted Republican.
Your mom was a Democrat but voted Republican, and your dad was a Republican who voted Republican, and Steve has always had a right-leaning lilt. That's not news to anybody. I don't know what to tell you.
But I've always been more of a I guess a centrist to right. Yeah, no, I guess I was a more right-leaning earlier too.
Yeah, see.
But you know what? Let me just gonna fix this real quick. I don't know why that's all off. I don't like it. I gotta fix my chat thing. 1 sec.
I guess he noticed that his chat's aspect ratio was fucked.
I apologize. I just want to fix this. Yeah, I don't like that. It's all off. All right, so he said that to me that...
Wait, did you just get rid of it? You fixed it by just getting rid of it? Hey, I was using that. 5 years back, he would at least lend an ear and try to understand. Yeah, you could correct Steve once upon a time. That was possible. It was work. He was stubborn, and you would have to put effort in, and maybe the amount of effort you had to put in was reasonable or unreasonable, depending on depending on what your fucking position was or why, right? Or sometimes you'd be able to convince him that something he did was, like, not a good look, and he'd be like, oh, well, you know what I mean? So, like, whatever, right? There was room there, right? And, like, once upon a time, he wasn't like, trans people aren't people, which is where he's at now, right? For example.
That was a really, what I took to heart, right? And he basically said, the media lies. Go look. You know, one of those do your own research kind of things. And by the way, make sure that you guys can hear me. Nobody has said that you can't hear me, so I assume that you can, and my audio is good. I always should check that right off the bat because my computer system has gone to crap. My video is no longer working. My camera is having issues. It kind of got kaput. My mic is having kind of issues, but I think I resolved that. Windows keeps wanting to update, and I don't want to update it because when I do, I lose my mouse. So, you know,
the man is falling apart. Jesus Christ. What in the fuck? I'm drinking Sleeman's. I'm gonna do something real quick here. I'm gonna try and get this live chat visible in a way that is not gonna... Because he's not even showing really anything on screen, but I want this visible. Let me see if I can make an adjustment to... No. There? Is that okay? I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's do that, actually. Subtitle options. Let's 200 the font, because why not? We can't fucking see him anyway. Everything is broken! There we go. Let's just put it right in the middle. He's not showing anything on screen anyway. There we go. Let's change it in here. This is how you do production. Da, 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 da. This one. There you go. I almost want to mirror it. Should I just... Nah. You know what? This is good enough. He's not going to put the effort in. I don't need to put the effort in. This is fine. It's a little bit smaller on screen, but fucking oh well.
System's kind of getting old and antiquated, but I'm making do. But anyway, so he said, you know, go do your own research, and so I did, and I mean, you know, research as in just go, you know, read about things. It's not actually doing, you know, like scientific research. Let's be realistic here. But what I did notice was he was right. He was absolutely freaking right. We can't hear you turn the camera on. I don't think it works that way. And I'm not camera ready either. Even if I had my camera on, honestly, I wouldn't be on. I don't like going on camera anymore.
Gee, I wonder why. Listen, I'm gonna put the extra effort in. I'm a nice guy. I'm gonna put the extra effort in. Hold on. We're gonna do this. This is what we're gonna do. He's not showing much on screen, so we're gonna do this real quick. Watch this. This is how we do it. Bum, 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 bum. This is how we do it. Bum, 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 this is how we do. We're just gonna make this smaller because we don't really care that much. We don't care that much about his chat. It's not that important, but we're gonna grab some of it. There we go. This is how we do it. There we go. Now we can see some of his fucking chat. I don't know why it's cut off at the bottom, though. I didn't do that. It'd just be like that. Wacky. Anyway. There we go. I don't think his chat's gonna move that fast, so we should be okay to look at it from that. There we go. Ta-da! Like magic.
That's me. I did, and I looked at the news, right? And I saw that the news was deliberately lying to people. And I'm not talking about exaggeration.
So here's the thing. If that's true, Steve, why don't you make a video about that? Why don't you talk about that and actually show that? Instead of just talking at people.
Duration of the truth. Is it clipping? I can put it back a little bit. If it's clipping, that should be better. Is that better, Real Cygnus? So, and let me give you some examples, right? And again, this is a holistic approach. This isn't something that just happened overnight, right? But what I started noticing was the headlines for certain organizations, such as like CNN, MSNBC, the Rolling Stone magazine, were just completely incongruent with the actual story. There was just the wording they used was manipulative. The wording they used was trying to appeal to people's emotions. You guys remember I've talked before about...
And so you decided to trust Fox News about, I don't know, for example, critical race theory? Yeah, okay.
Different types of debating techniques. And there's really kind of three main ways people can debate. There's argumentium ad logos, ad ethos and pathos. And what that just means is that you could try to argue your point by persuasion, by logical and analytical and, just pure persuasion by actual reason, right? And that would be more of
okay, no, this falls under herp derp. We're drinking for that one. That's not how it works. Just because something is emotional does not mean it is inherently not logical or not actual reason. Reason and logic requires acknowledging that people are people. And if you refuse to acknowledge that people are people and ignore that there is a whole pathos and ethos involved in it, it means that you are not acknowledging what's actually going on. You're only taking a portion of the information and you're purposefully ignoring other pieces of information. One of the reasons why, I don't even need to go into it. Take a drink. They're coming for your jobs is not emotional manipulation, or illegal immigrants are destroying our country is not emotional manipulation. Yeah, well, let him get there. We'll let him get there.
A logos type approach, which I'm definitely more towards logos than anything else, right? You guys read my papers. They're all about logic.
No, he's not. Steve is incredibly reactionary. That's just a lie. I don't think it's a lie in that, I think Steve is purposefully, misleading people. I think Steve thinks that he is logical when he is incredibly emotionally reactionary. He's been that way for a long time. I've told him that at the time. At the time, he agreed with me. And he's always been like that. He's been like that the whole time. My quality 11 out of 10. I know, right? I can't do anything to fix that. Sorry. Man, that's just the way it is. You have any idea? There was one time that I spent probably 2 to 3 hours fixing Steve's mic for him. It was crazy. And then he immediately ruined it, but whatever, it's fine. But yeah, no, Steve has always been reactionary and emotional. That's usually how he responds to things. His paper follows, reason and logic, but that is an edited, written paper that's gone through drafts, not his Twitter, right? You look at his Twitter, you look at the way he talks about things, he is very reactionary. That's why he's so easy to troll. I've told him this to his face. This isn't new information. So I'm gonna herp derp him for that one because he knows that. So we're taking a drink for that one.
Logic, and so, I'm gonna take a more logical approach. The other two are ethos and pathos. And ethos is more toward character. Saying, hey, this person is a person of character, therefore you should trust them more than somebody who's not a character. Which can be obviously very problematic in politics because
you can have bad character that still counts as character, dumbass, but alright, whatever.
You don't know who to trust. You don't know who the characters are, the people of pure heart, and you don't know who the bad players are. At least that's the intent, right? The media doesn't want you to know who the bad players are. And then, of course...
Steve, this is politics, not a fucking Disney movie. What do you mean, people of pure heart? Pure-hearted people don't go into fucking politics. That's just fucking stupid.
There's pathos, which is more of along the lines of emotions. And so when I would read these news headlines, I would see them tug at heartstrings. I would see them...
Yeah, that's not inherently bad.
Manipulate people that are much more emotional than I am. That's why they don't work on me. I'm not considered to be, a highly emotional person. But the way the media was spinning it was just not working.
Steve, talk to me. Okay, so me and Manya covered Steve talking about fucking Steve being wrong about critical race theory. That was Steve being taken by emotional arguments. If you want an example, you can go and check that video. I'll put a link to it in the chat as this is going, so you guys can check it out for yourselves. But it is very emotional. Again, we can go back to this, and you can tell me that, if you support MS-13 gang members, that's not loaded language. Terrorism, as if that's not loaded emotional language. And illegal immigration, just know that we are not the same. I do not take you seriously. I do not respect you. I do not think you are intelligent. I will not be kind to you. I would rather die on this. Isn't emotionally charged language at all. Well, we are not the same. I will die on this hill. This is definitely not emotionally charged language, right? Right? Like, people are gonna call me names. Like, brother, who do you think you're kidding? Are you lying to other people, or are you just lying to yourself? And I think he's mostly just lying to himself and trying to convince other people so he can validate and reinforce the lie that he's telling himself. That's just my take, and we're only like 10 minutes into this.
For me. And I'll give you some specifics coming up here too. But I eventually realized that the MAGA movement, Make America Great, was onto something. They weren't this radical right-wing lunatics that people were making them out to be. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I know many of them personally. I lived with 2 of them for 7 years. Great guys. Matter of fact, one of them is a ex-Marine. He wants to start a VA retirement house that he wants me to help run with him, which I'm giving seriously considerations to once I start feeling better. I'm considering taking him up on that.
Are you gonna stop living on a couch? You're gonna stop bumming off of somebody and living off a couch? Don't you get like a pension or something for being in the military? Oh yeah, that's right. The conservative Republicans hate veterans, so if Steve did have income coming in from that, it's probably dried up. You want to run a retirement house? Do you know how much effort that is? Listen, Feline, stop.
Because he wants to he has some money.
And yeah, Athens does want to point out, if you want to talk about history, Make America Great Again originally came from the KKK. Yeah, that's a great.
Wants to help out veterans. So I think that's great, right? But when I was living with them, I never really got involved in the politics because had a lot of stuff going on. People know I had a lot of stuff going on, and I just
Steve literally said earlier in this video that he's been following politics for a lot of years, and now he's saying that he didn't get involved in politics. So, what do you mean that you've covered a lot of elections but didn't get involved in politics with just your real life and only participated in politics online? Or have you just lost the plot of what you're trying to say? Because this is supposed to be a video where he lays out his reasoning as to MAGA, and he's already like tangent off in fucking left field. Not involved in politics. You've been involved for decades. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who caught that. Waste, fraud, and abuse, definitely not a popular MAGA emotionally charged lie either. Well, and here's the thing: if you want to, where do you think if you're gonna run a veterans retirement home, where do you think you're gonna get your funding to do that from? Real quick, if that's what you're gonna do, where do you think that funding is gonna come from?
wasn't that interested, I guess you can say. But then I became interested.
Okay, no. I was gonna let that one slide, but no, not to say that you weren't interested is that's fucking herp the derp right there. I fucking holy shit, dude.
But I'll give you some specific examples of how I see things being portrayed in the media, which is incongruent with reality. For example, a lot of people have been talking about this Garcia, the guy from quote-unquote Maryland Man. The amount of disinformation I've seen with this particular story is mind-boggling. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Nothing has compared to the...
Slice Arcade said, MAGA, my attorneys get arrested. That's a good one. I like that. Sly has agreed to join us on Debate Hub Official, by the way. That will be on the 22nd on Thursday, so please come and join us for that. It's going to be really, really great. Sly has told a very amazing and very fascinating story, and I really don't think it got enough attention. It didn't really get what it deserved at the time. So I've specifically asked him to come back and talk to me about it again, and so he's agreed to do that later this month. So please join us for that. It's going to be fantastic.
The amount of sheer dishonesty by the Democrats, that they are trying to manipulate the minds of...
Is it the Democrats or is it the media? Or are the Democrats the media? Because we all know that's horse shit. So which is it? Is this him trying to cancel out generalization that nobody actually makes? He underestimates by generalizing anecdote. It's lazy and non-intellectual. Yes.
People. And I have a statement that I made on Blue Sky a long time ago, and it basically it's something that I said that I hold true to, and that is that the people that control the meaning of words control the minds of those who use them. Okay? So the people that control the meaning of words control the minds who've used them. This is basically saying, look, if they can make some word mean something completely different than what it used to mean, or what the general understanding of a word, and I'm not talking about words that are used specifically in a specific domain of discourse like science, right? We all recognize in science that terminology is going to be a little bit more...
Oh my god, get to the point. You mean like CRT? You mean like Fox News specifically going out of its way to redefine what CRT is to fool people like Steve? Or do you mean the term woke, where you just use it all over the place so that it loses all fucking meaning? Like those kinds of words? Is that what you're talking about? Again, I would point you to our video of CRT where Manya and I demonstrated this. The globalists, the word globalist, yeah, the left, Democrats, media, all these words that you're just rolling together. And yeah, Rez is right. Words change over time, and sometimes it's through dishonest means, and sometimes it's not, and you have to kind of roll with that. Did Steve commit a full Fetterman? I mean, I'm not gonna say they're not similar. Well, patriot? Yeah, Baba, that's a really good example. The word patriot? Absolutely. I feel like this goes into herp derp territory. We're taking a drink for this one. If you guys see a herp and derp, you let me know, because I need this.
More strict, called sensu stricto, sensu strictissimo. And in the colloquial sense, it's going to be strict sensu lato, which is going to be a very generic or general sense of the terms. So I'm not talking about that type of differentiation. What I'm talking about is that words like woman, I didn't have to go 54 years of my life, 55 years now, to have somebody tell me what a woman is.
Steve, what is a tree? I haven't lived 55 on this world for me, a straight man, to be told what a woman is. Oh my god, I haven't watched this. I didn't watch this first, so I had no idea this is what he was gonna say. I actually thought it was gonna be fucking something that made way more sense. This is so stupid. Yeah, West Side Girl, he is currently explaining to us why I am Maga. So Steve is out here explaining why he's Maga. Apparently he's mad that he's lived for 55 years, and he didn't live 55 years just to be told what a woman is. Steve, what's an atheist? He probably unironically calls everything woke now. Wait for it. If he says the word woke, I'm gonna add another 2 up there. Holy shit. Feline says my response would be, quote, do you want it explained in terms of sexuality, gender, societal, etc.? And then see his mind go into error mode. I mean, yeah. I'll put it back. You guys can hear this again. I'll put it back. It's alright. It's fine.
That type of differentiation. What I'm talking about is that words like woman, I didn't have to go 54 years of my life, 55 years now, to have somebody tell me what a woman is. I know what a woman is.
Lived for 55 years just for somebody to tell me what a woman is. Old man yells at Sky meme. Steve, you must know how fucking absolutely idiotic that sounds, right? Could you imagine could you imagine me saying that? I haven't lived 17 years on this earth just for somebody to tell me what a man is. This is beyond parody. Alright, sorry, Steve, go on.
5 years now. To have somebody tell me what a woman is. I know what a woman is. I've known a lot of women. And when the whole transgender ideology thing became...
Guys, I've known women, therefore I know what a woman is. Steve, who has a baby mama, hasn't been married, and is notoriously single. Yeah, alright. I've been crashing on a woman's couch and taking advantage of her for years. Of course I know what a woman is. She has to yell at me all the time for not doing the dishes. He literally said that out loud, dude. That's the thing he said on stream, out loud. That he was crashing on this woman's couch, has been living there for ages, and and she has to yell at him because he won't clean his own fucking dishes. Yeah, Alright, go on.
The women. And when the whole transgender ideology thing came about with the gender ideology, the
transgender ideology came about with the gender ideology? Okay. What is trans ideology and what is gender ideology? Define them. We know how Steve likes defining terms, right? So define transgender ideology and then define gender ideology. Please. Transgender ideology. Trans has been a thing for decades. Trans people have existed the whole time through human history. They've been there the whole time. Yeah, trans is not an ideology and gender is not an ideology on its own. So what is trans ideology and what is gender ideology? And the answer is that it's just things I don't like. That's the answer. Anyway, I'm gonna give him 2 herp derps because he listed both of them. Did you notice that he was super fast to define ethos and pathos, and he was super quick to drop those terms and then start explaining them, but he just rattled these off without explaining what they are? Yeah, Go figure, right?
Well, a lot of us kind of said, okay, we'll kind of give him a little leeway on it. I understand it. I have friends who are trans, and like Jessica Gill, she's trans, and I have a lot of respect for her. But she also knows she's not a biological woman. She knows she is a male that wants to live her life as a female, and out of respect, because I have a friendship with her, I'll use her feminine pronoun. Why? Because I have a social compact with her that it doesn't bother me, right? Because I consider her a friend.
You mean that there is a social part of gender affirmation that you're willing to participate in? Weird. Huh. Funny thing, that's... So what's the fucking problem? So she's male sex and woman gender? I guess.
But for some...
The implication here, and I don't know if he's going to explain it, but the implication here is that if you're not his friend and you don't yes man and agree with him, he's not going to respect your pronouns. Because he's an asshole.
Somebody else to tell me who I have to refer to as a he or she, that will never happen. That will never happen because...
See? Called it. Why? What are you talking about? If it's not a problem and it doesn't bother you, why do you care if a celebrity or somebody uses one name or another? At the beginning of this, I said, hey, what up? It's me, your boy. Like, so the fuck what? Good God. I'm willing to acknowledge trans people I know and like as real people is not the flex Steve thinks it is. Thierry just nailed that on the head, and I'm making that 18. Steve's pronouns are old white fart. Great, now I have to carry around a stack of social contracts for everyone I meet. Steve is being hysterical. She's letting her emotions drive her actions she knows are wrong. Only my black friends I know I don't call the N-word. Oh, no. Why does it even matter so much to these people? You never actually use any pronouns other than you when you're talking to someone anyway. Bro, Steve's out here being like, I'm gonna control other people's language. Listen. Didn't he say earlier something about, like, if you control language, you control populace or some fucking existential horse shit? I don't know.
When you're encroaching on other people's rights by trying to push your own, then you've already lost what it's like to be an American.
What? All right. I think that might be a slip. When you're trying to encroach on other people's rights by trying to push your own, do we agree that trans people deserve human rights? Yes, no. Is American not the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness? So if living your life as a woman makes you happy, in what world is it Steve's right to tell them no? Because that is literally what he's trying to do. He's saying, basically, he's trying to hold respect for people hostage to his own self-satisfaction, which he views as, like, friendship and respect, which is actually subservience. You cater to me, or I'm going to purposefully go out of my way to violate your inalienable American right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I'm going to disguise it as free speech. That's called oppression, Steve. Look up the word. So what Steve is saying is he's totally okay if people choose not to acknowledge his gender as male, right? Because that would be controlling / compelling our speech. Yes, that is what he is saying.
You do not push your views as being normative or regulative on society because you want to be called a certain thing. You could ask, but it's a favor. And so
No. America has the inalienable right of every person for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can change your name, right? Why the fuck would a pronoun be any different? It's the same application. Women change their names all the time because they got married. Presumably because being married makes them happy, to the said person makes them happy. It's just traditional. You don't have to. But women change their names all the time. Are you going to stop respecting that somebody got married and changed their name? Because they got married? No, of course you're not. Why? Is it because it's related to a man? Presumably? Going with Steve's logic, we can call him an atheist now. No, yeah, Electric Brain is right. Yeah. By Steve's logic here, calling him an atheist is totally fine and accurate. He gets super mad about that, for anybody who doesn't know.
So if somebody says, I would...
You know what? That's a good point, Baba. I have never actually asked Steve what his pronouns are. Steve! Sorry, what their pronouns are. Steve, what are your pronouns? I've never actually asked that question. Steve, what are your pronouns? A lot of Williams want to be called Bill. A lot of Richards want to be called Dick. It's not a problem, right? No, exactly. Why do I get the distinct impression Steve would be very upset if you spent an hour in an interview using she, her instead of he, him? Just a hunch on it. It's literally the preamble of the Constitution, Steve, to secure blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. I do not understand how MAGA people think that it is reasonable to have the government take a step in and tell people how they should refer to themselves. Because that's what this is, right? If you like strip down all the fucking extra bullshit, it is, should the government tell you how you should refer to yourself in your day-to-day life? And the answer is no. The government should not be in the business of telling you what your name is allowed to be and how you refer to yourself. The answer is no. Anybody who believes in the Constitution, who would agree with me, anybody who is like just a reasonable human being, anybody who doesn't want government overreach or doesn't want authoritarian would agree with me. So if you're not agreeing with me and you're not in line with those things I just listed, tell me why you don't agree with me without referring to those things. Because the laws in Canada are different. The laws in Canada are about hate speech. Not about forcing you to say something you're not. Like Jordan Peterson likes to claim it is. Which Steve knows. I had that discussion with him. I'm pretty sure I had that discussion with him live on air.
Would like to be called this, and if you like it along with that person, sure. I see no difference than a drag queen, right? Drag queens, they know they're men, but they often refer to drag queens as she. Okay. You're not actually thinking she's a real woman, right? And so when...
What is a real woman? Steve hasn't defined a woman yet. He says he just knows what a woman is, I guess, by existentially. It's a priori, if you want to be fucking fancy about it.
The trans movement went to an extreme and they started actually trying to make it an ontological reality that men were women. That's why I stepped in and said, no, I'm not going to accept this.
Show me where. Citation needed. Show me where you see trans people arguing about ontological reality. Sorry, that's going into the herp to derp files. Ontological, you think that this is a discussion about ontological reality? Huh? What? This is not a discussion about ontological reality. This is a discussion about rights, freedoms, and basic respect. And treating humans like they're humans. You wouldn't do this to anybody else. For any other reason. So, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And did I get crap for it? Oh, yes. Did I lose a lot of subscribers? Oh, yes. But you know what? I've always stuck by my principles, and I always will. And so I have no regrets.
No, you have not. Your principles are virtue ethics. They used to be. Steve's principles used to be based on virtue ethics. So if we're going to have a conversation about whether or not Steve has stuck to his principles, the answer is no. Because again, allegedly, his stated principles for years were based on virtue ethics. Even if we just look at this fucking post. I would rather die on the hill of falling down a Maga rabbit hole in defense of my country, in defense of America, and in defense of the U.S. Constitution. And now he's over here fucking explaining how the Constitution doesn't apply to trans people. For no other reason than they don't give him personally enough respect in his real life. So it's a threat. It's a gambit. It's you give me this or else. He's holding respect, basic human decency, like not even respect, just basic human decency of calling people by their actual names that they wish to be called by, hostage, that if they treat him the right way, then maybe. He already acknowledged that biological sex and gender identity are different things. So what the fuck are you talking about? You're just being an asshole. Oh, the Declaration of Independence is the pursuit of happiness, but the Constitution is the life, liberty, and property. See, I would put this under life and liberty. But I appreciate the correction. Thank you very much. I'm not an American. I couldn't tell you the difference between the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. I'm not gonna lie. All I know about the Declaration of Independence is that it was a giant fuck you to England.
I have no remorse. None whatsoever. Because I was right.
You have no remorse? So you know you've been being a dick. That's an acknowledgement of knowing you've been a dick to people. On purpose. Why would you say that? I would like to point out that we're at 13 minutes and chat hasn't moved.
And did I get crap for it? Oh, yes. Did I lose a lot of subscribers? Oh, yes. But you know what?
Who cares?
I've always stuck by my principles.
No. Who the fuck cares about subscriber number? Why is that the first thing you fucking go to?
And I always will. And so I have no regrets. I have no remorse. None whatsoever. Because I was right on that issue. America was right on that issue. And I would fight against.
Yeah, you can tell that by looking at every other country and how they're handling it. Right? Do you want to make... That's just the... Yeah, no. He's not saying Bible. That's just he's not actually saying the word Bible. That's just what the fucking captions are pulling up, the auto captions. The word he's saying... Hold on, let me play it again. He's saying by my principles, and the auto thing pulled it up as Bible. But to the point, if you wanted to make interesting content, Steve, for your non sequitur show channel that is about different ideas and bold approaches and the controversy and talking about these things, do a video comparing the death statistics of trans people in America versus other countries that aren't doing the same thing as America. Show some of the studies, bring people on, discuss those ideas, discuss these ideas, these principles, these concepts. of healthcare and see like, okay, well, pragmatically, whether or not we take what you personally believe into account, pragmatically, which causes more or less people to die. And the answer is gender-affirming care. Gender-affirming care causes less death. Period. Is he saying being trans is un-American? Yes. Yeah, he kind of is, yeah.
But you know what? I've always stuck by my principles, and I always will. And so I have no regrets. I have no remorse. None whatsoever. Because I was right on that issue. America was right on that issue. And I would fight against.
Prove it. Prove America was right on the trans issue, because I would like to point out, first off, define the trans issue, and then fucking go ahead and tell Elmo, by all means, please explain. Tell Elmo, motherfucker! How is America right on this issue? Because as far as I'm concerned, it seems to be an ongoing issue for America. It's not the same way in Canada. There's still issues and things to be concerned with, but we well established this in our harassment laws years ago.
The idea of having men in women's sports. It's not fair. And I think America realizes that's not fair now. Women
but that's an issue of Olympic level fairness. Not an issue of fucking law and rights and liberty and freedoms. Stop confusing fairness in a sport that affects the minority of the minority of the minority and trying to apply it across the country. That's actually insane. That's actually really, really, really fucking stupid. Might as well try to prove water is wet. I wonder what Steve thinks about the military calling officers sir regardless of their gender dating back decades.
Sure knew it was not fair for a long time. The girls playing these sports, like my daughter, who's an all-star catcher, she would know what's up.
Do not bring your daughter into this. We know for a fact that your daughter doesn't want to be any part of your online life. We've seen that live on the Non Sequitur. Do not hide behind your fucking daughter. She is not here to speak for herself. And she is an adult. Fuck off.
Not fair. So, I think America knew, but they looked at the other, they looked to
I have a daughter who plays in sports, therefore what? So what?
Another side, right? They looked away because they didn't want to see how far that people were taking this, where it became normative in society to think that men could be women. Now,
how's Australia doing? How's Canada doing? How are other countries that have fucking handled this perfectly fine without the fucking big issues that America is having? Handled it. Are they fine? I mean, seems pretty fine. You're talking about this fucking as if it's like, oh, this is gonna destroy the foundations of America, because that's not emotionally loaded language. Bringing up your daughter isn't emotionally loaded language, right? Because he's logical. He's all logic, right? Stop speaking for women? Yeah, what women? What women thought this was not fair? What women were talking about how unfair this was? What are you talking about? Do you have, like, a statistic? Do you have a study? Do you have anything to actually go off of? Again, I'm back to look at how other fucking things are handling this. You know, like, the Olympics already has policy in place for this. And again, how the Olympics decides to operate, how high-level sport decides to operate, is not necessarily applicable to an entire country. And how people live their lives in private, asshole! Your private medical care, if you are not an athlete, is completely irrelevant. If you're an athlete, your medical care is irrelevant to how a country needs to be run. That's actually insane to try to equate these things. This is a false equivalence at best. I'm adding to the drink counter.
Again, I'm not against anybody living the life the way they want. I mean, let me make it very, very clear. If somebody wants to live as a female and they're a male, by all means. I mean, this is why I get into.
Then why are we here? What's the problem? You were saying MAGA is right. If MAGA is right, then trans people need to stop existing and they're not real. Steve? I'm still being nicer to you than fucking pretty much everybody else, and is definitely nicer than you probably deserve at this point, especially with how you've treated me and Manya, specifically. If it doesn't matter, then why are you using it as a talking point? There's context to this.
Trouble with the TERFs because, they're like, well, it's a costume they're putting on, right? It's a wearing women's face, and I understand that. I understand that argument.
Goodbye. My beer's not cold enough yet to get another one. This is so sad. Woman face? What? Woman face? I'm just finishing this. Excuse me. Wrong. Incorrect. You made that up. It's not real. Fake news. BRB, I'm gonna go wear my crab face and do the crab people dance. So, that's racist, Steve. This clearly is a horrific misappropriation of blackface. And misapplication and incredibly ignorant statement and understanding of about what blackface is and why it's problematic, particularly in America. Again, because like not everybody's fucking handling of race issues are equal across the board, right? Around the world, different people have different problems and different types of racism exist. Blackface in America is a little bit particular. It's got a little bit of a history, you might say. And that history spread a little bit because of how prolific American media is. So it's sort of seeped a little bit everywhere because America likes to, leak all over the place. However, to misrepresent blackface in this way is not only a misappropriation and incredibly ignorant and racist, but you're using your ignorant racist comment to justify transphobia. And it's you're using it as an excuse to say that dressing as a woman is a masquerade. It's a play. It's pretend. But you already said you were fine and accepted that living as a woman is a valid position. So you're contradicting yourself at best. If we're gonna take out the emotionally loaded language, Steve, and we want to be logical only. We only want to use specific parts of our brain because we know that turning off parts of our brain is the most reasonable thing to do. The cabaret. Cabaret, cabaret, cabaret. Ian, you already accepted that drag is something different, motherfucker. If a straight man dresses as Wonder Woman for Halloween, are they gay? Because I feel like that's the level we're at right now. I feel like that's the fucking level of conversation we're currently at. We have to roll back where we're fucking at with this is fucking crazy. I will also point out that there's a couple people in the chat that are pointing out, like, Maga Obscura said everyone knows media lies, which is media lying or media misrepresenting something is like applies across the board. Guy Who Gears said right-wing media lies, and Doug, who you can see still on the screen, says joining MAGA just as the ship is beginning to sink. Very funny. Steve is wearing smart face. But, like, I use big words, therefore I am intelligent. Does that count as LARPing? Like, 90% of the things straight men do makes them gay. Basic middle school logic. Try to keep up. Yeah, fair enough. All right, yeah, fair. I'll take the correction. I'll take the correction.
I'm not saying it's a bad argument. I'm not. But I'm saying is that I still think it's a freedom to wear that as a costume.
But why can't they wear it as not a costume? You're specifying that it's a freedom to to wear blackface as a costume, but it's not okay to wear it for real? Like, what are you talking about? What's the difference? How would you tell? How would you police that? Like, how would you know if someone's wearing it as a costume or wearing it for real? Like, there's nothing about this makes any fucking sense.
Okay, and I have to make that very clear. Hang on one sec.
It is, in fact, very unclear. I'm sorry. What? Could you please elaborate on that? Because it was incredibly unclear.
1 second.
So Steve thinks blackface is cool if his friends do it. Yeah, basically, yes. That is ostensibly the extrapolation you can make from what he is saying. One thing applies to the other.
Why am I getting my video playing in the background? 1 sec. I gotta fix this. I don't know why I'm getting my video playing in the background. I don't know what I did.
He is 15 minutes and 30 seconds in.
There we go. Sorry about that. I don't think you guys could hear it, but I could hear it playing on tab. But my point being was that America was willing to go along with a little ways, but then when they started invading women's sports and they started invading...
They invaded women's sports, and they started invading, I assume he's about to say, women's spaces. This is testing my apathy towards alcohol and making me want a 3-foot-tall hard ginger ale in a crazy copper cup. I'm wearing a foam helmet whenever I'm around a curb near Applebee's. Bro, apparently millennials didn't kill Applebee's hard enough or fast enough.
Bathrooms and things of that nature, and forcing young girls to undress in front of male students and having
What are you talking about? Oh my, okay, this is, no, bye. This is already like beyond the even worth watching. You know when you're like, hey, listen, I'm gonna watch it, and then I'm gonna watch it until like it's not worth watching anymore. Steve has not explained his reasoning. His reasoning why Maga is right is because he doesn't like trans people. That's his that's the example he's brought forward so far. And because the media uses emotionally charged language. Yeah, of course the media uses emotionally charged language. It's capitalism. Your problem is fucking capitalism. And you're just too stupid to figure that out. Because you're too busy being a fucking bigot. That's it. That's it. You're too stupid and incompetent to deal with the actual issue, so you would rather make up a completely random shit and bully people who are weaker than you are because you're a fucking old, straight, cis, white man and are too incompetent to do anything else. This does not apply to every old, straight, cis, white man. There are lots of great, old, straight, cis, white men. You're just not one of them, and this attitude disproportionately affects too many old, white, cis, straight men. The number is too high. It's actually really permeating fucking younger cis, straight, white men right now because of people like Andrew Tate, but that's a different kind of fucking problem. Fun fact, the ruling in the UK makes it easier for cis men to invade women's spaces. Yes, it does. The UK ruling is a whole problem that we'll probably talk about eventually, but not today. And how would any of this improve the country anyway? Because 1% of the people that undergo this, yeah, fucking... the head has hit the second Applebee's curve. I am an old cis straight white man. Also, I am not an asshole. Right, like, this is, again, this is like, it's like a Karen. Not every Karen is a middle class, an upper middle class white woman. Straight white woman. Straight cis white woman. However, it disproportionately affects that specific demographic. Oh, good God. Smitty, it's about recognizing the problem. And the problem that it disproportionately affects this group of people. It's recognizing the demographic. So that way the demographic can police itself. Because that's what should be happening. It shouldn't be me here calling this out. It should be another old white cis straight man who can help counterbalance the issue, because an older straight white cis man is in a higher position of power than I am. Period. End of sentence. As of the year of our Lord 2025. The same as calling a fucking you want upper middle class cis straight white women to call out a Karen when a Karen is doing a Karen. That's why. It's about power imbalance. Steve is going to take a straight older white man more seriously than he is going to take me. A Karen is going to, a cis white straight middle class white woman having an entitled breakdown is going to respect another person of their tribe more than an outsider. That's not even true, Smitty. Are you actually going to pretend that YouTube isn't a fucking sausage fest? My brother in Christ, the internet is filled to the brim with yelly straight white cis men that have way bigger platforms than I do. If you don't like the fact that this attitude permeates America, how the fuck do you think you got Maga in the first place? What do you think Maga is? It's predominantly straight, white, hetero, cis men, and then straight, white, hetero, cis women. Those are the demographics. Sorry. And MAGA comes with this level of entitlement. A massive, massive level of entitlement. It's just a fact, my guy. Alright, let's keep going. Anyway, something about females undressing in front of male students and having teachers doing something. He's just making up some emotionally charged, outrageous horseshit.
Young girls to undress in front of male students and having teachers and admins watch? Yeah, it crossed the line. It way crossed the line. And trying to trans kids way crossed the line. So I want to make it very clear.
I mean, I could point out, like, citation needed, first off, but I could point out, I could go out of my way and point out that, like, women, cis women, non-trans women, are being brigaded in women's bathrooms because other women don't think they're woman enough. Women should be on the same side here. Yeah, where's Steve? Tell Elmo. Tell fucking Elmo, motherfucker. Where the fuck is this happening en masse? What are you talking about? This is literally not this. He's just making this up. It's just emotionally charged language after he did a whole diatribe about how he's gonna be like the super logic man. Derp. Herp the derp.
Clear that somebody has the right to dress as a female. You have a right to be offended or a right not to be offended. But that is their individual right. I will always stand by that. Right? but I will not accept that they're actual women.
What is an actual woman? You've now differentiated between women as a fucking definition, and now you're adding in fucking actual woman. So what's the difference between a woman and an actual woman? And how are you going to be able to tell that on site? Yeah, because we're going into transvestigation shit, right?
That was the beginning of my understanding that there's more to what's going on in politics than I had ever imagined. That the Democrats were literally manipulating the minds of people by trying to make words different than what they mean, like woman.
What's the definition of woman then? What is the universal, inherent definition that never changes, that always has to be the exact same thing throughout history, that defines what a woman is, Steve? Because you're basically telling me that there is an ontological definition inherent to reality about what a woman is. Fucking prove it. Citation needed.
It's just a start. But let's go back to this Garcia case real quick. I've read...
What the fuck does the Garcia case have to do with gender identity, by the way? Nothing.
What SCOTUS wrote. I've talked to people that know law. And unfortunately, there's people out there that are doing legal commentary on it that I think are absolutely wrong. And there's people that are doing legal commentary on it that I think are absolutely right. Both.
Okay, then do legal commentary, Steve. Go on. Do your legal commentary. Surely you understand the law, which is why you lost your harassment cases, right? Surely you understand the law. Surely you defend the Constitution, so you would have some kind of understanding of what the Constitution says and means. Right? Surely.
Sides are legal experts. One of them has to be wrong. This is logic, right? Logos.
If you have two actual dichotomy, like if you have only two options, the problem is only two options almost never exist. So this isn't logic necessarily.
If two people that are having they're opining and having their opinions out there on a particular case, and they're finding things to be completely different from each other, one of them has to be wrong. It could be no other way. So
that's poorly worded. What he's trying to say is when you have two diametrically opposed positions, you can't have both of them be right at the same time. However, it is a misrepresentation, in my opinion, about what he's talking about. Yeah, there are only two options. Either you're MAGA or you support terrorists. Yeah, like false dichotomy anywhere, you know what I mean?
I can't just go by that. I have to go look for myself and say, okay, what is it that I'm reading into this? So let's look what we're reading into, and then we'll look at like what the Democrats have said.
Smitty, we should talk about this. I don't mean me and you should necessarily talk about this, but I think what you're bringing up is an absolutely reasonable conversation, and I think it is an actual conversation we should have. I'm not telling you to stop talking about it right now. I don't want you to think that, but I do think that there is a bigger conversation to be had around what you're saying, and I think that is a conversation we should have. I just don't want you to think that I am ignoring you or ignoring what you're saying. I'm just going to I'm going to put a pin in it. You guys can continue the conversation. I'm just going to put a pin in it and try to remind me, and we'll talk about it another time. I would also like to point out that Doug in the chat has said, Trump has no idea how terrorists work. Trump really thought Russia would end the war because they respect him. Life coming at him fast.
So in the case of Garcia, which was this poor Maryland father of the year that was swept up, caught by ICE, and deported. And he's
caught by ICE, not kidnapped by ICE. If you want to talk about emotionally charged and loaded language, Steve. Hypocrite.
Now sitting in CCOT in El Salvador in a gulag, rotting away, and his wife is just upset. She wants him back, and it's gone all up to the way to the Supreme Court. Well, this is actually what's going on with this. And I'm sorry if you think it's anything different, but this is what the documents actually read. You can put the documents in any AI. It'll read it for you.
Okay, well, don't use AI, first off. Second off, what documents? Yeah, the wife is just upset. She's just upset, guys. The wife is just upset. That's not dismissive, emotionally charged language. That's not trying to downplay the fucking thing. You know what I mean? No, Smitty, you're good. You're good. I get you. You're valid. It's fine. You don't worry about it. We'll jump over it for now and get back to it another time. What the hell is going on here? Steve is just trying to downplay the guy who was deported and sent to El Salvador's wife's feelings because her feelings aren't valid, I guess. For whatever reason. Like, you do realize this guy could be like the worst fucking person on the planet and that wouldn't make her feelings not valid? Her husband was kidnapped in front of her while 8 months pregnant, and she had to go through labor without him. No, listen. Steve is talking about the documents. I assume he means the legal documentation, but, did he provide... You know what? I haven't looked at the fucking... He has not, in fact, provided a single set... Oh, no. Love the honesty. Hey, Chris. You're a dipshit. And you're not good at political commentary. You don't know what you're talking about. Also, I'm glad your party got their ass kicked in the Australian election, you piece of shit.
For you and give you the gist of it if you want, but this is what was said. So, let me make it very clear. First of all, this was not a Maryland man. This was not a man from Maryland. This was never a person who had citizenship. This was never a person who had residency. He was an illegal alien who came across the border. He walked across the desert and came across when he was about 15 or 16.
It doesn't matter if Garcia is the leader of MS-13. He is not there because of any facts. He's there because of what Trump simply decided. So do away with all judges and let King Trump decide. Correct. No, Ash Scott is 100% right. It's not about what he did or didn't do. This is already a deflection. It doesn't matter. He didn't get due process. He is required to have due process. That's what the legal documents are about. He had the documents. Oh my God, you are lying. Am I wrong to recall that Garcia was picked up by ICE when he showed up to his legal hearing about his immigration status? He was a legal resident under asylum protection as ordered by a judge. Correct. He was granted asylum and became a resident even if he wasn't a citizen. Correct. You don't need a citizenship to be legally allowed in the United States, Steve. Correct. Bro is acting like people can be legal residents if they don't have a citizenship. Right. That's not how it works. ICE knew they weren't allowed to deport him, and they did so anyway. Correct. Better round up all the foreign diplomats invading Washington. Oh, Steve! Show where it says that in the document. You're looking at... Steve isn't talking about legal documentation, right? Somebody walked across the desert at the age of 15 or 16? Well, which was it? You're talking about legal documentation. Where in the legal documentation does it say that? And what does that have to do with anything? So what if he walked through the desert to America? If he was granted asylum, it literally doesn't matter how he got there. The point is that he was allowed in and was allowed to be there. Again, I would like to point out, this is supposed to be an argument from logos, not pathos. He's trying to present this as a reasonable argument disregarding emotion. So why are you talking about this story as if it's relevant? Why do MAGAs never understand that most residency violations are civil infractions, not criminal? Does Steve want to deport people speeding or littering as well? No, I don't fucking know, probably. If they're brown enough. They were trying to escape being recruited by gangs. Yes, also that. People who love in Puerto Rico are U.S. citizen, but Steve would probably argue that they need to be deported if they're here in the United States. I feel bad for Puerto Rico, but also not too bad for Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has been trying to become a United State for like ages, and it's just like a territory, right? And then, thank God they're not a fucking they're not a state right now, because I feel like they're like, oh God, thank God we've got some distance. Meanwhile, Trump's like, make Canada the 51st state. The insanity. Your jacket says MS-13 member confirmed. You gonna Photoshop MS-13 across my tits? The absolute incredible irony of a Jewish man saying this. Yeah, well, listen. Whatever.
He was swept up in a daytime raid, so to speak, with ICE at a Home Depot with a couple other known MS-13 gang members. And
how are they known? Show the document, Steve. I know you know how to screen share. Show the document. Where does it say that? Where's your video explaining? Tell Elmo. Is it because it doesn't exist? Is it because this is fake news?
2 immigration courts and a appeals court all determined that he was MS-13. Now, here's where it gets interesting.
What courts determined he was MS-13? Where? The dude was deported without due process. You know this. We talked about this. I showed you talking about this too, like a couple of weeks ago on Twitter. You've argued that he didn't deserve due process. You can't say that he didn't deserve due process and then fucking claim that it was proven that he was part of MS-13. If he didn't get due process, then it wasn't proven by law, motherfucker. Can you fucking pick a lane? No.
Interesting. Because even though...
Hey, Steve, I got a question. Can you answer real quick? Steve, I got a question. Hey. I got a question. Why do ICE wear masks? Why are ICE unidentified?
The police report from the Prince George police report said he was confirmed MS-13. He was found having
Okay, where's the police report? Georgia police report? Where are you getting any of this information? And here's the thing. Guess what? A report isn't a conviction, Steve. You've been reported for a lot of shit. It's not a conviction. Did you just use the fucking AI? Is this what you fucking pulled up? A fucking AI bot? Is this what you fucking did? I thought you didn't trust the media, Steve. Are you trusting CNN? Are you looking at the police report that CNN fucking got? I thought we didn't trust the media and the media lies, Steve. So what the fuck are you talking about? No? Not this? That's not the thing you're talking about? Then what the fuck are you talking about? Again, citation needed.
Passengers in a van, all registered at his.
Oh my god, not a van! Why didn't they have 8 passengers in a car that doesn't seat 8 people? Idiot. Fucking dumbass. He had a traffic stop and there were 8 people in his van. Imagine 8 people. Imagine a van filled with people. Why aren't you driving with only 1 person in your van? This is fucking insane, dude.
His address, claiming to be, friends and family living with him.
How dare he have a van registered that he paid taxes on like a citizen? This is so fucking stupid. My brother in Christ, your conspiracy doesn't make any sense. These are all normal things. These are normal things that you're presenting as if they're unusual by using emotionally charged tonality and language. In his van that he owned and had registered, in his van that he had registered at his address, as opposed to not registering his van not at his address, that he had people in. He had 8 people in his van. How many people does his van fit? Does his van fit 6? Does his van fit more than 8? How dare they save gas by carpooling? Ooh!
With a known terrorist on a terrorist watch list with him. With one of
known terrorist or on a terrorist watch list or what? Or what? Or what? Or what? What are you talking about? How do you know they're a known terrorist? Who? You're not naming that person. Has that person been arrested? Steve, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And this is why you're MAGA? You're MAGA because of one terrorist organization? You're a MAGA because of one political instance and trans people? That has painted your entire political perspective about people's inalienable rights? How would Garcia know he is on said watch list? Yeah, how do you know Garcia knew that? The fuck are you talking about? Steve is using Bull's icon. The icon in the bottom right, I put that there. It's still there because I'm the one who put it there. And Steve is too stupid to know how to change it. Remember when he swore up and down that Bull would always be part of the show? You'll notice that Bull isn't actually anywhere in this show. And thank God for that. Jackson Analysis for 2 said, as backward as Aaron at this point. Yeah, really. I will take a drink for that.
One of the other people in the van. And he was put over investigation.
Listen, if you don't ID and run a background check on anybody you've ever driven around anywhere, and you don't have access to FBI information about whether or not somebody may or may not be on a terrorist watch list. A terrorist watch list, by the way, doesn't inherently mean you're a terrorist, by the way. It's a watch list. Dumb fuck.
Investigated for human trafficking in 2022. Homeland Security has all these memos out on him. El Salvador has a file on him because he's an El Salvadorian. He's not an American. He's one of theirs.
You mean El Salvador has a file on the guy that tried to escape El Salvador and was seeking refuge in America and had documentation from a judge that he was not to be sent back because he obtained asylum? Steve. Hey, That's the thing. That's the thing, Steve. That's the thing. Uh-oh. He told him he told him that his immigration status had changed, waited until his wife arrived to take custody of their son, and then arrested Abrego Garcia. Abrego Garcia's wife said that ICE called her after detaining her husband and told her, quote, she had 10 minutes to pick up her son before he was turned over to Child Protective Services, end quote. Detained in Baltimore, Abrego Garcia was told that his wife was... Okay, we're waiting for Alicia to finish. If you have to run background checks on everyone, you've got a police state. Yup. The worst part is that any credible expert says that El Salvadorian gangs don't use tattoos like the MS-13, but 4 out of 8 points in the identification handbook can be gained by having tattoos. Ah, shit, I got a tattoo. I guess I'm planning on getting another one. I guess I'm a member of MS-13. I should challenge him to a debate. A debate about what? How wrong he is about everything? Why Maga is stupid? What is harassment? Like, what would I debate? What would be the debate topic?
But this is where it gets interesting, because even if he wasn't MS-13, it wouldn't have mattered to the case at all.
Yeah, really? Why?
He was deportable. The immigrant...
I mean, under this administration, everyone is deportable. Huh? That's going in, listen, he was deportable. Da Vinci? I found out recently that the Da Vinci twins are Canadian, and I'm like, yeah, they are.
Immigration court found that he was here illegally. Whether he was MS-13 or not is absolutely irrelevant.
No court found he was here illegally because he was not given due process. There was a stay for him not to be deported, Steve. Not that he was there illegally. He was granted asylum and said, do not send him back. Good God. No wonder you fucking blew your cases against Charlie. You fucking tried to frame somebody for shit in California and had to drop it because guess what? If that had gone in front of a judge, it would have been demonstrated that you fucking lied under penalty of perjury, that somebody did something they didn't, and there was video of you, evidence of you trying to frame somebody. Does that count as criminal enough and gaming the system enough to have you deported because now you're a fucking criminal? If you got caught, and that's why you dropped your case? What about the fact that you failed to have your case in Kansas reconsidered, and you have a restraining order for harassing women? Does harassing women count as offensive enough to get you fucking deported, Steve? Trump even said that Garcia didn't get due process. Correct. Trump even said he doesn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution. Stop lying to people, Steve. How about you read the documents? Read them live on the stream. Go for it. Maybe you'll learn something.
He was to be deported. Now, did he have a stay from El Salvador? Yes. And why did he have the stay? Because he had told the judge that a rival gang, now make it very clear, a rival gang, meaning that he had to be in a gang to have a rival gang, called the Bar 18.
Nope, you do not. That's not necessarily true.
If he went back to El Salvador, he was in fear of torture. And we have a policy as an Americans that we don't want to send people back to get tortured. I understand.
Therefore, he was in America illegally, as you said, regardless of if he was part of another gang. You literally just explained why everything you've said so far is fucking wrong. What the fuck?
understand that. But he isn't
I understand that, but too bad. Trump said so, and I'm gonna just sit here and suck Cheeto dick.
I understand that. But he is an El Salvadorian citizen, and they have him as a terrorist. They have...
So? And? What's your point? That's irrelevant.
Him as somebody that has broken the...
Yeah, Thierry says it was not a rival gang. It was a gang that collected protection money from his mother, and when she couldn't pay, tried to indenture first his brother, then himself. Oh, really? Go figure.
The law's down there. So they put him in...
Motherfucker! People flee unreasonable laws. That's the whole point of people wanting to go to the land of the free America, is because their laws are oppressive and unreasonable, and then they flee. What the fuck? What the actual fuck are you talking about? If a law says I have to marry my widowed brother's wife, so my brother dies, and I have to marry my brother's wife, and I don't want to marry my brother's wife, and the state is going to force me to marry her, and I flee, and I've been labeled a terrorist because I refuse to marry. Are you going to deport me for breaking the law by fleeing the unreasonable and unjust law? If a woman from India, from like Sharia law Pakistan area, for example, I'm pulling that out of my ass. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking understand the political structure well enough to comment on that. If you're a place that under Sharia law that forces women to like wear specific things and is treated a specific way, and that woman gets assaulted and she's gonna be stoned to death, and because she's now had sex out of wedlock, and she flees to America. She has broken the laws. She has broken Sharia law. Are you gonna deport her and send her back to be murdered? Because that's what you're saying. That's the logic here. If you want to do logos, that's the logic. If gay people have sex in a place where gay marriage is illegal and they flee for asylum to a place where gay marriage is not illegal, are you going to send them back because they broke the law of that other country? Hey Steve, if having sex out of wedlock is a crime somewhere, should you be deported? Were you married when you had your daughter? Does your daughter deserve to be fucking deported for being a bastard? No, because that would be fucking insane. And that would be an absurd law to put into place. So yes, it's reasonable for people to flee from countries that have absurd laws where somebody is not fucking harming anybody else. A bastard child didn't do anything to anybody. And they don't deserve to be treated as such because marriage is a fucking construct anyway. It doesn't have any real bearing on what kind of person you are. It's absolutely nonsense. So we don't base laws off of absolutely nonsense and discriminate against people based on how they were born. You know, like if they're a bastard, or if they're trans, or if they're gay, or if they're a man, or if they're a woman. So just because Abrego was born in El Salvador and was treated like shit and decided to flee rather than become the gang member that you accuse him of being without actual proper fucking procedures that you just decided is the case. How would you like it if it was your kid getting deported for being a bastard? Specifically your bastard, because you didn't follow the rules. No, you don't like that? You don't want your daughter to get sent to a fucking El Salvadorian prison? What happens if Steve's daughter takes fucking part in a political protest for Palestine at a university? What happens then? Does she get deported? Are you going to be okay with it then, Steve? No, because conservatives and Maga don't give a shit unless it happens to them. They have no fucking empathy. They don't care about what happens to anybody else. They only care if it happens to them. Like Mitch McConnell voting against fucking RFK Jr. because he got polio. Does your daughter count as a citizen if you remove birthright citizenship? She was born in America. If you don't get a citizenship for being born in America, does your daughter have to do a civics test?
Seacott. That wasn't our doing. That was El Salvador's doing. He's an El Salvadorian citizen. So when SCOTUS ruled what they ruled, they did not rule to bring him back home. Matter of fact, he cannot step foot on American soil.
That is not true. They ruled that Americans' government needs to facilitate his return. If they're facilitating his return, how could that possibly equal that he cannot step foot on American soil? You are brain dead. Actually brain dead.
He is prohibited by law, by federal immigration law, to ever step foot on American soil. He can go to...
Prove it. Citation needed, Steve. Show me where in that document it is.
Port of entry, but he cannot actually be in the United States.
Citation needed. I would again like to point out that Steve has yet to provide a single source for any of the shit he has said. Not one. All he said is the documents. He didn't even claim the legal documents. He just said the documents. Steve, if you're in another country, the laws of that country apply to you regardless of immigration status. Steve, if you go have gay sex somewhere where gay sex is illegal and you get caught, you're gonna get arrested. Steve, if you go have sex with somebody underage that is underage in that country and not underage in the country you originate from, it's still illegal. Do you think it's not? If you have, okay, so let's for a second, let's pretend, let's say the age of consent is 14 somewhere on the world, somewhere in the planet. The age of consent is 14. If Steve fucks a 14-year-old in America, it's illegal. Just because it's legal somewhere else. Let's pretend the age of consent is 14 in California, in America, where Steve lives. If you go fuck a 14-year-old in Canada, it's fucking illegal still. Because you're doing it in a place that it's fucking illegal. When in Rome. Motherfucker, are you stupid? Yes. Why am I even asking? The answer is yes. The answer is fucking yes. Brain damage. Brain damage. The only answer is brain damage.
Law. So he can't come back to the States. So SCOTUS would never have even ordered such a thing. Plus,
this is a pretty bold way to try to justify Trump and his administrative team committing contempt But this is Steve we're talking about, who is currently in contempt of his and perjury by our measurement for his case. So, you know.
They cannot. SCOTUS cannot order, one, the President of the United States under Article 2, Section 2, under core plenary powers of diplomacy and foreign negotiations to do anything among diplomatic channels.
It's not an issue of diplomatic channels. It's an issue of SCOTUS sending somebody that was not supposed to be sent somewhere to a place they weren't supposed to be in, so get them back. Duh.
But what's worse is they cannot order a citizen from another country back to the States. They cannot do it.
Now we can read a source out loud. Yeah, apparently. Steve, they can demand the president to uphold the Constitution. Yes, they can. They can do it, and they just refuse to. Under threat of contempt, they refuse to do it. Yes. The president of America is able to negotiate for individuals with another country. That's a thing that the president of America can do. We know that. That happened and has happened in multiple wars and had happened under President... So you're telling me that President Biden was able to do shit that Trump isn't able to do? Because Biden did negotiate the release and the trade of individuals. So Biden better than Trump, I guess, and Trump just sucks at negotiating? Is that what we've decided? Does Steve not know what extradition is? Does Steve know what anything is anymore? I don't think so. Doesn't seem that way.
It's just absolutely not.
It's just absolutely not. It's just, guys, it's just absolutely not. There's no citation. There's no reason. There's no logic here. Steve just feels that way, and so it just is absolutely not. It's just absolutely not. It's not. There's... I don't know what to tell you. It's just not. It's just not. Guys, it's just not. It's just, sorry, it's just not. Just not.
My audio's bad? Somebody saying my audio's bad?
Yes, your audio is bad.
Everybody was saying it's 5x5. Now maybe it's on your end. How's my audio? Can you get an audio check? Because it looks okay on my end. I don't see anything wrong with it. But somebody says my audio's bad. So
your audio is bad.
It's crackling.
At least there's somebody in the chat that understands. All people, regardless of immigration status, are entitled to due process as per the Fifth Amendment. Have you ever read the Constitution? Guy Who Gears has got it right. Good shit. Yes, your audio is atrocious.
One sec. I'll turn off my filter. Let me do see if that helps.
Turn your gain down.
All right. Is that better? I turn off my noise suppression. See if that's better.
Kelly says, Kellen, Kellan, says, why am I just listening to you recite this? Do you have any primary sources to actually show? Also, your audio sucks. And is crackling. So he's not addressing the citation question. He's addressing the audio problem.
That's better. That should cut back the clipping. So anyways.
No. It was better for a second when he wasn't, like, screaming and eating his microphone.
Rolling Stone magazine has this thing that comes out that says...
Unreal! Unbelievable. He actually just read the person who said, do you have a source for any of this? Why am I listening to Fucking, why am I listening to you just say this? Do you have any primary sources to actually show your audio sucks? He fucking responds to the audio and then moves on and doesn't address the first half of the comment that is asking him for a fucking source. Unbelievable. Steve, you said in your posts that you were gonna fucking have conversations with people and fucking that you're gonna change your mind and fucking like America. And you're sitting here just being like, buh, 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 buh. Like, are you really? Why are we listening to you bloviating? Yeah, absolutely. Holy man.
As SCOTUS orders return of Maryland man, or SCOTUS orders return of Garcia. Trump disobeys order, which is absolutely ridiculous.
That's absolutely true. The Rolling Stones has actually been one of the only news sources that has been accurate with its fucking titles. Trump disobeyed the order. He was told to turn the plane around. They didn't. He was told to bring him back. He hasn't.
Absolutely ridiculous. There was no order to return him at all. It couldn't. Again, SCOTUS does not have this power to return.
SCOTUS doesn't have the power to negotiate for individuals. SCOTUS doesn't have the power to turn a plane around and not hand somebody over to a foreign government. It doesn't have those powers? Then how does America have any asylum program ever at all for anything? Period. Tell Elmo, please explain to me. Does America have a refugee program? And asylum program? The answer is yes. Multiple. So if SCOTUS and America can't do anything, how do those programs exist? And it wasn't SCOTUS that made the order. Correct. Yeah, he's confusing SCOTUS. He's confusing the president with the Supreme Court. Which is fucking, I noticed that a little bit ago, but I wasn't going to call it out, but I feel like this is a mistake that he's made enough times that it's worthwhile. The Supreme Court made the order. He's confusing the president and SCOTUS. The president does not have the power to violate the Constitution. Smitty, I think that's the question. Steve, does the President of the United States have the power to violate the Constitution? SCOTUS only confirmed what the lower court ordered. Right. So, Pete, if the audio sounds fine to you, you might need to get your ears checked.
Turn a person from another country. He's not an American. We have no control over what El Salvador does.
Right, SCOTUS and POTUS.
So these headlines saying that Trump had disobeyed SCOTUS was absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense.
Okay, how? In what way? How did he not violate the fucking court order?
What they did say was to facilitate.
You can't just say it's nonsense and then not explain it. This is supposed to be an educational channel. This is supposed to be fucking logos, right? This is supposed to be logic. So what's the logic here? How? In what way? Why are they wrong? Tell Elmo.
And what they meant by this, according to immigration law, is basically if he's able to make it to the port of entry, you have to facilitate going through the motions.
Where are you getting this from? Absolutely not. Facilitate.
As to where he would have got the stay lifted and then send him back.
He is literally just quoting their argument as to why they're violating the order, not an actual law or legal case. He's just going off of the reason why they said they're not doing it. Not that reason is valid.
because that's where he would be going back to, El Salvador. That's it. That's all that would happen. If he was to make it, if he was to get out of prison and he would make it back to a port of entry, he would be immediately arrested. They would lift the stay and send him right back to El Salvador, into Secot there. Or they could send him to, like Guantanamo Bay in Cuba or something, if they wanted to. They could send him anywhere for it, really, right? But that's what facilitate meant in immigration law. Again, when you're talking about legal documents, you have to assume that the words being used are the legal terminology, which is in this case, is to facilitate means to remove any barriers preventing somebody from entering the country. And you can go look this up. You don't need me to show you anything, and you can go look it up. They also chided the Judge Zinnes. They chided her on it. If you read it very carefully, what they said was, basically in lay speak, what do you mean by effectuate his return? Because she said facilitate and effectuate. This is a low-level district court judge. This is one of 600...
So now if it's a legal document, then it only matters if it's a fucking high-end legal court. Now if it's the lower court, it doesn't matter. Effectuate. And they didn't have to do anything because they said facilitate. But now let's talk about the word effectuate. What did he say to look up? Hold on, let's replay it. Let's replay it.
Chided the Judge Zinnes. They chided her on it. If you read it very carefully, what they said was, basically in lay speak, what do you mean by effectuate his return? Because she said facilitate and effectuate. This is a low-level district court judge. This is one of 675 to 677 judges, all trying to make policy for the United States, which they're not supposed to make. These preliminary...
Prove it! You just made a straight-up claim that 677 judges are trying to make...
Judges, all trying to make policy for the United States, which they're not...
Citation needed! Prove it! But yeah, let's go a little earlier. Can go look it. Here it is.
Preventing somebody from entering the country. And you can go look this up. You don't need me to show you anything, and you can go look it up. They also, talking about legal documents, you have to assume that the words being used are the legal terminology, which is in this case, is to facilitate means to
facilitate and effectuate. Not just facilitate, but go on. I see that April has entered the chat, but I don't see April in the chat. Funny that.
Remove any barriers preventing somebody from entering the country. And you can go look this up. You don't need me to show you anything, and you can go look it up.
You don't need me to show you anything. Look it up yourself. The earth is flat. You don't need me to show you anything. Just look it up yourself. Aether Kid said Maga is a fascist movement built around the fascist leader Donald Trump. That means you are a fascist. Yeah, correct. Aether Kid is 100% correct. Steve is a fascist based on this. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He cares about authoritarian power centered around Trump. He's falling into the activist judge's rabbit hole. Oh, he's already there. Remember I went over the fucking math the other day? Yeah. He got statistics wrong. Steve McCrae got the basic function of statistics incorrect.
They also chided the Judge Zinnes.
Hey, do you think that Steve didn't actually take off the fucking chat because he didn't like the way it looked? Or do you think he took it off because he knew he was going to get fucking people calling him out and he didn't want to show it on screen? What do you think? I'm curious. One in the chat if you think he actually removed it because of the aspect ratio. Because if he removed it because of the aspect ratio, he could have fixed it, supposedly. And he didn't. He chose to leave it off. So 2 in the chat if you think he removed it because he didn't want people fucking calling him out, showing on screen, so he couldn't delete it later.
They chided her on it. if you read it very carefully, what they said was, basically in lay speak, what do you mean by effectuate his return? Because she said facilitate and effectuate. This is a low-level district court judge. This is one of 675 to 677.
You guys want me to look up the word effectuate? Not every word has a specific legal term, by the way. Like, you know, for example, swatting. There is no legal definition for swatting. Effectuate. To be the cause of. To bring something about.
Effectuate.
So they needed to facilitate and effectuate this person's return.
Judges, all trying to make policy for the United States, which they're not supposed to make. These preliminary nationwide injunctions, the first one wasn't until 1963. Before then, the United States didn't have any. Why? Because it was not a district court's position to do what they're trying to do. It never was. That's not the Constitution.
How? Tell Elmo. Please, Steve, give me a legal history lesson. By all means. Please, I beg you. Give me an American legal history lesson.
To give them that power. You didn't want a judicial oligarchy. You didn't want individual judges making policy for the entire country.
A judicial oligarchy? Is that what you think is happening? Steve, is the president violating the Constitution? Is the president allowed to violate the Constitution? Is the president's power allowed to effectuate taxes and money? Where does the purse lie? I've heard that it's in the House. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Am I wrong? There's a moose emoji? Holy shit! Well, that just means I don't have to make one.
They're not elected officials. They don't get to do that. Can they do judicial review by Article 3? Yes. But you can do that by other means. You don't have to issue preliminary injunctions to have a review of something for constitutionality. But they told the judge, what do you mean by effectuate? Will you give us some clarity on this? Because we cannot order his return. You cannot order his return, which it looks like you did. This judge literally said, you need to bring back this person into my courtroom. In the hearings that she had afterwards, she said, why is he not here? And the government said, why would
Because they said, don't deport him. Are you just skipping the first part where they said, turn that fucking plane around and bring them back before they were handed over to fucking... Steve, time exists. Do I really need to... You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I don't even fucking care. I'm gonna do it. You can't stop me. This is my channel. Are you ready? You guys ready? You guys ready? Where are you? Here it is.
Well, I think it's time to bring joy back into the world.
This is an after show. I don't know if you know what that means. After means it happened. Something happened beforehand that we're talking about. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So I'm gonna make this really clear. There's the present tense, there's the past tense, and then there's the future tense. So presently we're doing an after show. After is in the past tense, meaning something has happened that we are now discussing. So in the future tense, it might be good for you to learn from this past tense experience you had to go ahead and look at the thing that the after show is about before you come here and make an ass of yourself, because that's what's going to cause people to tell you to fuck off. And yes, it is okay for them to tell you that because you're being a dumbass. So fuck off. Because I know that I know that future, present, and past tense are a thing that happen. I'm looking forward with my foresight. Foresight, by the way, Ren, is when basically when you take your experiences from the past. I know we talked about past tense and what that means. So when you take that experience of that thing that happened to you and you use that and you use your cognitive abilities to think things through about, well, this has happened in the past and these things are a little bit similar in the present. So now we're in the present tense. You can use that in the present to look ahead towards the future tense to think about what might happen in the future. That's called foresight. And so I'm using my experience and understanding of what I've seen happen in the past and what I'm thinking about in the present for what could and might be likely to happen in the future. Yo, okay, listen. It's the fucked up thing is that Tina didn't talk to the woman in private about the accusation she was making about her creating child porn. And that's the fucked up thing. It's certainly not the accusation being made, right? Because, okay, listen, time exists, all right? So we're gonna, let me start with it, okay.
Time exists.
Exists.
Can I say how much I love you right now?
There's
the reason
some
why I keep
people
this around.
Some people view time as the fourth dimension and discuss it that way. Some people view time as a linear description of things changing and measure it that way. Some people describe it as a weird soup. No matter how you decide you want to describe it, time is a thing that happens. It's an event. And to be an event, time has to exist. So if we take the concept that time exists and then start applying it to things that happen, it means that Tina might not want to talk to someone accusing her of making CP, you fucking absolute moron.
We don't know. How did you know, Cindy, that it was Dottie who made an allegation? I don't get it.
Well, we're talking about Dottie. Okay, hold on. I'll address this. Okay, so there's this thing called time that exists. And this what's happening, Cindy, right now is an after show, right? So after
Cindy was there in the live chat of that show.
Right, is in the previous, like what happened before, the past tense. Right now we're in the present tense and we're talking about something that happened in the past tense, right? So in the future tense and later on, I believe in you that you can use your cognitive abilities to understand from this experience that you had in the past, that you can then in the future, when it's the present for you, understand that the after show, Manya's after show, tea-spiracy and sipping tea under the willow tree, not owning their nasty, is about Manya's stream that just wrapped up, meaning that when we're talking about CP and the creation of said CP and those allegations, we are talking about what was addressed on Manya's stream. And the shit, I know you were there, but I'm just going to cover this because I think you can't rub two brain cells together. I believe you have them. I believe you have two brain cells, but you're not quite able to just rub them together.
Yeah, like I said, that was the first I've ever heard of those allegations were from Katie.
Yeah.
What was discussed?
Sorry, you have to give us a timestamp or something.
Yeah.
What was discussed was AZ agreeing with, saying that it was true, and bolstering Unirock's fucking random ass bullshit and accusations about who was making CP. So yes, AZ was saying that the group of us were involved in getting Nat and taking advantage of her in creating CP. Congratulations. He did actually accuse people of creating or being involved with the creation of CP, and believe it or not, that's the thing we're talking about. I don't know why this was so fucking hard for you to follow.
That was a total clown fiesta. I love it.
Time exists, and sometimes between things happen between point A and point B. So Steve, keep up with me if you can. Garcia leaves El Salvador, succeeds in getting into America. In America, he goes through a process that involves asylum. And in the process of doing so, it means that he gets to be in America. And while he is in America, again, time exists. We understand that he was born in El Salvador. We're here. We got that. He was born first. That's fine. That's the past. And as we're moving into the present, we understand that he is currently in America. And when he is in America and he is under asylum, it means he is allowed to be in America. And if he is in America, then America's laws are in play. And so if America's laws are in play during the present, that means that he is allotted due process, as per the Constitution. You remember that Constitution that you said you very, very, very much cared about, right? So this is the present tense, right? This is what's currently ongoing. This is an ongoing issue, right? And so we understand that he was taken in without due process and then deported without that due process. So a judge went, you need to turn that shit around and bring him back because you fucked up, and that the Trump administration admitted that they fucked up. So we know, and they know, and you know, and we know, and everyone knows that they fucked up because they admitted to fucking up. So if they admit to fucking up, then they need to rectify their mistake, right? We're talking about an administration being held accountable to the things that they got, right? To the things that they've done. I think we would all agree that any government should be held responsible for the actions that it takes, right? So that means in the future, right? Follow me. The future, that mistake doesn't happen. And how do you ensure that mistake doesn't happen? And what laws do you put in place, or what laws already exist to make sure that that doesn't happen? Like, injunctions, right? Like stay orders, for example, which is what those are for. And that a government is responsible for following the rules as stated. That's what a check and balance is, right? A check and balance is, hold on, let me clarify this for you. A check and balance is something that is to ensure that one specific group within a government doesn't hold too much power. We would all agree that, except for maybe Donald, but we don't have to worry about Donald right now. This is us right now. It's us right now. It's fine. We would agree that the president is not allowed, POTUS is not allowed to violate the Constitution. And the thing that ensures, or is supposed to ensure, that POTUS doesn't violate the Constitution is SCOTUS, right? So if SCOTUS and a prior court before that says, hey, you're not supposed to do this, and they do it anyway, that would be what a court order or something would be called contempt, right? Because time exists, right? Again, we're back to time. Remember, this order was placed, then shit happened, then he was in El Salvador, then he was handed over to the El Salvador government, and then they were told, no. They were told this, they sent him anyway, and they went, no, you need to get him back because that violates the Constitution. And they're like, no. Keep up, Steve. Time. Order of events, dumbass.
Would he be? We're not bringing him back. If he can make it to a port, we'll happily, facilitate him back into the port. We'll get it lifted and we'll send him back.
Why? He already did that. Now you're just saying do it again.
But we're not bringing him back to the States. He's not American. He can't legally be here. And now she's even...
That's not true. Again, what is asylum? What does it mean to be a refugee? What are the rules that are in play for that, Steve? Do refugee status just not exist as far as you're concerned? Does asylum status just not exist? Are you stupid? The answer is yes.
even gone further, and she's like, well, I need to have daily updates of what you're trying to do to get him back. And they're like, well, this is it. First of all, this is all through diplomatic law.
And you think that's acceptable?
You're not privy to any of this information. You don't have security clearance for any of this information. This is Article 2, core plenary power. And this judge has no jurisdiction over that kind of power. This is
citation. Hey Steve, are you interested in doing debates on this matter? Would be really fun watching you talk to Pisco, YouTube lawyer, and hash out all of this. Yeah, Steve doesn't have the wherewithal or the mental health or the physical health to actually handle a debate right now. Let's be real.
So there's something that's reserved just for the president.
And Feline makes a good point. If no one is privy to that information, then how do you know, Steve? How do you know this shit is accurate if you can't have access to the information?
Go look it up. But she's trying.
Go look it up, guys! Guys, just go look it. Google it! Guys, go look it up! I'm not going to provide you a citation. I'm going to tell you where you can look it up. I'm not going to provide a single fucking reference. Again, I would like to point out, there is no reference or fucking citation in this fucking description. There's nothing. Zero things. How can we look it up if no one's privy to it? Right! He just said that the judge doesn't even have access to this information. So how the fuck are we supposed to have access to this information? You absolute fucking Looney Tune. Holy shit. There's a reason why I showed this video. This video is from 3 years ago! Steve! As far as I'm concerned, the Steve that was alive 3 years ago fucking died a slow and painful death through brain hemorrhaging.
She's trying to say, I need you guys to tell me what you're doing to get him back. Well, they've already said they're not getting him back. The president of El Salvador says, no, we're not.
Which is a violation of a court order, which is contempt. And a violation of the Constitution.
Sending him back. So they're done. So they also went on to say, well, if it was...
So I guess fuck everybody, because who cares about the law? Did you not say that you would fight for the Constitution? Did you not say you were gonna die on that hill? Then perish, because your Constitution is fucking dead. Fucking thing's on goddamn life support right now. And if the people who are supposedly gonna die on the hill of the Constitution are saying shit like this, motherfucker's flatlining right the fuck now.
If able to come back, then you would continue had it been if they not had the little mistake, which I still think is a poison pill that happened in the record. I think the lawyer screwed up. I think that he said something that was not quite correct, or at least not the way
based on
that he was informed. But it was, now that's in the record, it's there. But
based on what? What? This is just your opinion, bro. Based on what? What the fuck kind of video is this? This is on the Non Sequitur show. Present something? Anything? Why isn't this just on your regular Steve channel?
Administrative error was basically they should have got the stay lifted, and then they would have sent him to El Salvador because Barrio.
If they could have gotten the stay lifted. You can't just flick a switch, motherfucker. That is due process. You're basically saying, well, they should have followed due process, but they didn't, so too bad. Do you understand what you're fucking saying? No, he doesn't. He doesn't understand what he's saying. You cannot convince me otherwise. Because you're not gonna be able to gaslight me into thinking this man doesn't actually just have brain damage. What are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? Steve's part of MS-13. Deport him. The end. That's it. Steve doesn't have a stay. Steve doesn't have a court order saying he's allowed to be in the country, right? So, what do you mean? You're actually saying that due process was not followed, and too bad. That's what he just said out loud. He said, hey, listen, They should have followed due process, i.e., overturned the stay, and then deported him via due process. But they didn't. And he's saying, too bad. But America, big old powerful America, has no negotiating power with El Salvador? Why? Why doesn't America have fucking negotiating power with El Salvador? You're a great negotiator? Can't negotiate? Steve is only part of MS-13 if it shows up on a police report, so report him to the police. This motherfucker has said out loud that the sheriffs and police have showed up at his house 4 times for domestic violence calls. So does that mean that because the police had a report as domestic violence that Steve's a domestic abuser? That's his logic. Because of course it doesn't mean that. Why would it mean that? That would be fucking insane. You can report anybody for anything. It doesn't really mean anything unless it's followed through on and there's, due process. By Steve's logic right now, he sexually abused Katie Joy because there was a report about it. It went through the court system.
Gang is no longer in that area. The threat to him is no longer a viable threat, if it ever was. And so...
Prove it. How do you know that? Steve, how do you know that? Steve! How do you know that? Then, if that's true and you know that and you have that information, then make the argument in court through due process. Fuckhead. If he was deportable, like you said, and they had reasons to overturn it, then they should have done that, and they didn't. Therefore, evidence used to be Steve's go-to. Now it's lacking severely. Go figure.
All that would have happened was if they would have caught this administrative error, they would have lifted it, and he would have been sent to El Salvador anyways.
Prove it was an administrative error. Prove it! Show that it's an administrative error, not just somebody saying it was one.
So there's a lot of performative outrage out there about due process, but what a lot of people don't realize is that...
What makes it performative? No, people are upset. People are actually upset about due process not being followed, because if this, then that. It's a slippery slope. So what about it is performative if you're going to make a definitive statement?
That term due process, but you don't hear a lot of prior to this. All of a sudden, this illegal...
Yes, you do! The fucking whole ass Me Too movement. Johnny Depp. Fucking you never shutting up about Katie Joy is all about fucking due process. There's lots of conversation around due process. The fucking... fuck, what's it called? The fucking... The one about men getting locked up for bullshit sexual assault allegations. The Innocence Project. This whole stream of his is performative outrage. Yeah, good point. The Supreme Court wouldn't have ruled 9-0 to bring him back if he didn't have a right to be here. Yeah, 9-0, motherfucker. Yeah, Brian Banks. Yeah, what about that? What about that, Steve? What the fuck? What about... Hey, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of fucking bringing this up, but I'm gonna bring this up. Hey, what about Earl David Wharton, Steve? Was he not allotted due process? No? What happened with him and due process, Steve? Huh? What happened? No? What happened with your due process and Katie Joy, Steve? What about your due process with Charla, Steve? What about your due process with Kyle, Steve? No, Mr. I'm gonna whine, bitch, fucking moan and complain? The Central Park 5, yeah. Yeah. What about due process for the people that were the January 6thers that beat up police and attacked police and tried to overturn the election, and their due process where they ended up arrested and jailed and fined for those things that the Trump administration overturned? What about that due process, Steve? You don't give a shit about due process. That's why you're trying to be like, oh, all of a sudden people fucking care. No, people always cared. You're just an asshole.
Alien that was sent to El Salvador, let's have due process. But the due process is different for different levels. And the due process for citizens is not the same due process for people that are in our country that are here illegally. It's just not.
The caveat of who are here illegally. No, if you're in a country, if a woman is raped in America and that woman is illegal, is the rape legal? Steve, hey, no, don't, pay attention, come here, come back, hey. If a woman is raped, sexually assaulted, off of the street by a citizen, by an American citizen, if Steve rapes a woman, if that woman is an illegal immigrant, is Steve raping that woman legal? Is he legally within his right to rape an illegal alien? An illegal person in America? Even better, if we want to make it more equivalent to Abrego, if a woman flees a country for fear of fucking assault, for fear of being killed due to unreasonable laws, and she flees to America, and she is granted asylum, is a woman who is granted asylum who Steve rapes fair game? Is Steve not breaking the law by raping her? She was granted asylum, right? But she has no rights in America? So if she has no rights in America, you can do whatever you want? Is that what we're going with? No? It would still be wrong? Okay, what if it's let's say Steve's also an illegal immigrant. If Steve's an illegal immigrant from one country and the woman is an illegal immigrant from another country, is Steve legally allowed to just there's no legal due process? Stop, I'm giving Maga ideas. I assure you Maga has thought of raping Latinos. Yeah, no, I think we all know that. Or even worse, is the US now first going to establish whether someone has the right to the Constitution before any trial? Well, no, they're not even doing that. They're just willy-nilly throwing darts at a board. And yo, it wouldn't be due process even the best of fucking scenarios. Hey, if I'm an illegal immigrant, am I allowed to rape an American and then just get deported back to my country without due process for that? What if I'm not what if I'm being deported to not El Salvador? What if I'm a Canadian? Right? So I'm a Canadian and I go to fly to California and I rape Steve. Am I gonna get deported back to Canada? Do I not get due process in America? Does Steve, as the victim of me sexually assaulting him, not apply? Is that how that works? The fuck are you talking about, you fucking crackhead? Like, do you see how none of this makes any fucking sense and is actually fucking horrific? Do I just go home? Does Canada have jurisdiction over crime I do in America? No? Steve! Steve, why do you want to deport the American justice system? Why do you want to outsource the American justice system? Because that's all this is. You want to fucking hold Garcia for crimes he never committed because he's never been tried for crime. So you can't say he committed crime. You have no jurisdiction to say that and send it back to fucking El Salvador. What the fuck? This is insanity, dude.
And so they had as much due process as they're going to get, you know? But
as much due process as they're going to get is 0. Okay, cool. Nothing better than 0 due process.
anyways, there's a couple...
Hey, Megan, are you okay with this? So, for example, let's say a foreigner. All right, hold on. I'm coming back. I'm sticking on this one for a second. I'm coming back. Steve brought up his daughter. His daughter's in college. His daughter's in university. If there's a student that is a student from another land, a foreign place, that goes to that same university, and something happens, God forbid, to his daughter from this foreign student, does his daughter and him and their mother and everything get no due process because that person is not under the jurisdiction of the United States? What about Megan? Hey, Megan, if a foreigner assaults your daughter, since you like to bring your daughter up so much, Megan, are you and your daughter not have no rights to due process if that person is foreign? If that person is brought over from another country? If that person doesn't... Because keep in mind, they could be born in America, but they have immigrant parents. So what if they're born in America and they don't have fucking citizenship? Because birthright citizenship was removed. So if they don't have birthright citizenship, and they're somebody who grew up in America, and they fucking assault your daughters, you don't get any due process? Because they get deported back to, I don't know, France? The UK? Ireland? India? Canada? Mexico? Brazil? Poland? Russia? And then what happens to them there? I don't know, it's not up to you. You don't get a say. You don't get a choice. Too bad. So what stops people from traveling to America, assaulting people, and leaving? Getting deported back to where they're going to face 0 consequences. Nothing. The answer is nothing. The answer is you have taken your rights, your freedoms, your right to due process, and you have fucking outsourced it. Is that what you want? And again, I say this because 1, Megan keeps bringing up her daughter, and 2, Steve keeps bringing up his daughter because, you know, young women and girls are meant to be weaponized for people on the internet, right? That's what they're for. They have a job to do, so they should shut up and fucking do the job. By being innocent little birdies that we can just throw up there. Like, you know, because none of these people have ever read the novel To Kill a Mockingbird, right? They've never read it. They don't know who Abacus Finch is. Sorry, Atticus. I said abacus. Atticus. You would literally rather outsource your child's rape. You don't want to be in America? Because it's a shithole? Do crime. They're gonna deport you to where you're from. On a really nice flight. How is my audio better than his? He set the bar very low. Steve, do you understand the reality of what you're saying? The implications? It's okay, I'm gonna wait for all these people to fucking throw a hissy hairy fit. And be like, just saying blah blah blah. No, you don't get it. You don't fucking get it. These are the results. This is what happens. When you make a law, when you set a standard, you need to understand the far-reaching implications of what those standards and expectations are. You're already, without due process, deporting someone who did nothing because he had people in his van. Like, that's your best argument. He had people in his van. This is the future you're setting up for your children. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. And for your grandchildren. And for your great-grandchildren. The fact that there are so many Americans right now who don't give a fuck is horrible. Ah, and yes, of course, the first they came poem. First they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. They came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. They came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. Longer version of the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, a charity established by the British government, as follows. First they came for the communist, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. You mean the Nazis weren't socialists? Then they came for the trade unionists because I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there was no one left to speak out for me. The Nazis came for the communists. When they came for the trade unionist, I kept quiet. I was not a trade unionist. When they locked up the Social Democrats, I kept quiet. I wasn't a Social Democrat. Oh, God. Don't wish Osmond Gold on me. That's just rude.
A couple people here that are not going to be around my channel. I will be removing them. So, I'm sorry. They had as much due process as they're going to get. You know?
Which was none.
But anyways, there's a couple people here that are not going to be around my channel. I will be removing
There's a couple people here that will not be around my channel. I will be removing them. You mean people saying, hey, are you interested in doing debates? You mean people saying there are no atheist Christo-fascists? You're a Christian, stop pretending you're a part of my movement when you're trying to make atheism illegal fascist? You mean the people that are defining you... Because Trump illegally deported him without due process, that was too late? Oops. Maga is fascist movement built around Trump? April, who, you know, seems to completely disappeared from this chat? I thought you said you were open to people disagreeing with you. And I thought you just said you didn't care if people called you a fascist. I would like to point out again, this is from a couple of days ago. As opposed to this post being weeks ago. Thought you didn't care, Steve. It's almost like you're a fucking liar.
with him. So I'm sorry, but I have to finally put the kibosh down and just say enough's enough. I've been very
enough's enough. What? Facts? You had enough of facts?
very, very kind, but I'm not.
Bitch, where? You haven't even engaged with these people yet. You're saying you're being very, very kind, and you didn't even address a single one of their concerns.
I'm not doing it any longer. So, anyways, when it comes to the whole Garcia thing, I watched the news, and again, I was literally going this direction.
What news? Which news did you watch? Fox News? You mean the entertainment? The one that they argued in court? Nobody should believe is the actual news?
Before that, but this again was like this the icing. That I watched the news absolutely lie about it, saying, "Oh,
we know for a fact, by the way, that he got his fucking his fucking CRT shit from Fox News. We already established that."
Trump is defying SCOTUS. No, Trump has not defied SCOTUS yet. And Biden defied SCOTUS when he had the elimination of college loans, right?
What? How is that a defiant of SCOTUS? Please tell Elmo. Please explain. But also, so what if he did? We're talking about Trump. Just because Biden did it doesn't mean it's okay for Trump to do it. It would at best mean both of them were wrong, which is a tacit admission that Trump is wrong. But whataboutism? Is this whataboutism? Yeah.
And so, defying SCOTUS is not the end-all, be-all, it happens. Lincoln defied SCOTUS.
Oh, apparently it just doesn't matter. It's just like, it's not the be-all, end-all. It's not violating the Constitution. Yeah, whatever. What the fuck? Hey, Honest Red, welcome.
Presidents have defied SCOTUS. They're equal. SCOTUS, and so there are certain things that are not equal, though, and a lot of people don't realize this. Even though they're branches that are supposed to be equal in power, and
you know what? I would agree. If Biden violated a SCOTUS order that said don't relieve student debt, I would not equate it to illegally deporting someone without due process. I agree with that. I do not think those things are equal. Do you guys, one in the chat if you think that that's equal, two in the chat if you think that that's not equal, because I would agree that in fact is not equal.
Work together, the president still has powers that are above even the judicial branch, which are the
I'm not American, all right? I'm not America. Are you telling me out loud that you think the President of the United States is above the law? I thought one of the main principles of America was that no one was above the law. Am I misunderstanding something, or... Huh? Deep down, Steve knows the Constitution dressed as... the Constitution dressed as sluttily as they want to be violated. Yeah, right? How is the Constitution dressed? Clearly, they wanted to be fucked. The branches of government are all equal, but some are more equal than others? What? Did Steve out loud just say that the president is above the law unless it's Biden? So if a Democrat is in power, they're allowed to do equally as fucking absurd things? This is why Canada cannot and will not trust America ever again. This is why Canada's fucking relationship with America is fucking over. Because you cannot be fucking trusted. Hey, Manya, welcome. Steve just said that the president is above the law. For somebody who, upholds the Constitution, That's pretty cringe, bro.
Core powers, which would be diplomacy, foreign negotiations.
I'm sorry, would foreign negotiations not include the return of a prisoner who wasn't supposed to fucking be there in the fucking first place? No? I'm sorry, did he just blatantly contradict himself?
Right? Border control would be part of that. And then the Army and the Navy, which is explicitly what it says, which has also been termed and deemed applicable to other branches of the military.
Can I go ahead and ask for a citation? Because quite frankly, at this point, I don't trust Steve's interpretation, and he's not reading directly or showing it on screen because he's incompetent and bad at this.
So nobody can really tell him how to run the military, which is another thing that they're trying to do, right? They're trying to say transgenders belong in the military or can't be in the military. But here's the problem with that.
Transgenders. Will this be the day that I finally light my last nerve on fire? Will this be the day?
Trans should only be in the military if you're able to serve under the sex that you are.
Why? Why does that matter at all? Please explain. Why does your sexuality or your self-identification matter in any way, shape, or form in the military? Please elaborate. I actually mod for Steve on his other channel, usually catch replay on here. Judges aren't elected, so they don't make rulings on the executive branch. That is, one, literally their entire purpose, and two, why they are unelected in the first place. You know what? At least there are a handful of people that Steve already threatened to remove from his channel that are actually trying to engage in the conversation.
In which case, it's fair. But we don't want people in the military that are not mentally competent to just be in the military.
So, like you. We. Who is we? You're not in the military anymore, motherfucker. You've been out of the military for years. So who the fuck is we? And second off, you are clearly not mentally competent. Let's be real here. Steve has not been mentally competent since he literally took a brick to the face and then never got treatment for it. So who the fuck is more likely to be mentally competent? Someone who wants to participate in society in a way that doesn't affect other people? Or somebody who took a brick to the face who wants to tell everybody what the fuck to do? Chesh picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. Yo, you right?
We don't want somebody in the military who's more concerned about the LGBTQ plus than they are serving the country and defending the country against enemies, foreign and domestic.
Prove it! You want to make that claim? Prove it! Bring on a handful. Bring on a reasonable percentage of trans military, people who are in the military who are trans, people in the military who are gay, people in the military who are LGBTQ, binary, non-binary, lesbians, gay, trans people who don't transition because that's an option. Bring them on and have conversations with them, Steve. You want to make these declarative statements? Go ahead. It's really easy to fucking declare about if these people want to be in the fucking military, they'll just stay in the closet when you're the person who doesn't have to stay in the closet. Why would any gender And why would any sexuality be referenced at all within the military? Is Steve going to demand that someone who thinks Jesus rose from the dead be dishonorably discharged? I don't know. Good question, Smitty. Where did the brick come from? It was hanging out outside of an Applebee's, minding its own business. And then Steve decided to faceplant into it.
We want a deadly fighting force. Okay? We don't want somebody in rainbows and you know, all looking fabulous. That's fine for something else, but the military...
Apparently you're not allowed to be fabulous and commit murder. Ahsoka would like to disagree. And if anybody gets that reference, you're my new favorite. Guys, you can't be gay and do murder. Women can't do the murder. There's no such thing as a lesbian dommy mommy who's gonna step on your balls. What the fuck is he talking about? Does Steve think that fucking you're allowed to bedazzle your fucking military uniform? They do not wear rainbow leotards. Maybe you can wear rainbow leotards underneath your military uniform. What the fuck are you talking about? Yo, y'all ever hear of the fucking Spartans and their gay military? They're wearing military clothes. No, they're not. No, they're wearing rainbows. Didn't Steve earlier say symbols are what we make of them, ostensibly? Is that not something he was kind of, like, arguing for? That, like, words can be, like, changed and elaborated on? And, like, does the symbol of the rainbow, can it not mean more than one thing? What about the Power Rangers? How does Steve feel about the Power Rangers? You know, there's a whole Power Rangers series. Go talk to Dapper about it. There's a whole Power Rangers called Power Rangers SPD Force, which are basically like police. They're rainbow colored. Does that count? I'm fucking dying, dude. This is so fucking stupid. This is really fucking dumb. Guys, guys, this is really fucking stupid.
It's not a social experiment.
I'm just gonna fucking tattoo MS-13 on my forehead just for the meme at this point.
All looking fabulous. That's fine for something else, but the military is not a social experiment. We don't want countries looking at us going, what the hell is this? We just
too late.
Don't. And plus, most of them are just not mentally well enough to serve. They don't think the same.
Prove it. Prove that trans people are not mentally well enough to serve. Do you have any idea the rate of fucking psychoanalysis of military personnel? Or is that what you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the fucking PTSD and fucking mental capacity of people who have served in the US military? Because I really don't think that's a fucking statistic you want to talk about. It's not an experiment, Steve. Gays and trans were in the military the whole time. Yeah, nope, Smitty's right. They were there. They've been there. I guess we could do we could do the other half tomorrow. I served well enough. I know multiple people who are in the fucking military who are trans. Specifically in the fucking American military. How about you look at any other country and see how they handle this, and if it's affecting their military prowess? Nah, guys, there's only America and not America.
Not a social experiment. We don't want countries looking at us going, what the hell is this? We just don't. And plus, most of them are just not mentally well enough to serve.
I recommend anybody who likes Trump to go ahead and look at any other interaction he has ever had with any other leader in a country and look at how everybody is literally saying, what the fuck is this? America is regularly looked at as, especially if you want to look at Canada. I would like to point out America's incompetency. We had multiple soldiers die because of America's incompetency, because American soldiers killed Canadian soldiers who were on their side due to incompetency. That is a fact. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Steve, but everyone already thinks this because you're a fucking joke. You fucking suck, dude.
They don't think the same as the military people? They don't fit in with the rest of the military?
Prove it. Prove that they don't think the same. Prove that they don't fit in with the rest of the military. This is literally fucking... what's the fucking... I said it earlier. The fucking... transvestigation. This is just transvestigation in the military. You wouldn't fucking know.
They have very different agendas. Now,
what agenda? You're in the military! What fucking agenda are you talking about? Yeah, give me an excuse to drink. You don't have an agenda when you're like the lowest rung of the fucking military because you don't fucking get a choice.
We have trans in the military? No, no. When I was in, we had gay people. You know, and so
we had gay people. Yeah, you had gay people the whole time. You had trans people the whole time. They've been there the whole time. You just didn't know because it literally doesn't matter.
The people that were gay, nobody cared. Nobody cared in
People very much cared. That's what Don't Ask, Don't Tell was about. It was a whole political thing, Steve. Did you just fucking forget?
My ship who was gay? We already knew who was gay.
Did you? Did you? You knew everyone who was gay on your ship, Steve? Is that because you took it in the ass from them? Or is it because you gave it to them in the ass while you were there? Because otherwise, how did you know? You took their word for it? Did you just assume without evidence? Because those are really your only options. You either had to have taken it from them, you either had to give it to them, otherwise you were just taking their word for it. And if you were taking their word for it that they were gay, or they weren't gay, then you were literally just taking their word for it one way or the other. How do you know who was gay, Steve? Were you watching? Were you cucked in the corner watching two dudes fucking banging? No! Of course that's not what you were fucking doing, you abject moron! You have no idea who was gay and who wasn't. You just knew some people who were openly gay while you were in the military. And you're just misrepresenting because the person who has an agenda here is you. Idiot.
The thing was, if you did your job, you did your job. And the gay people were just like any other people in the military. They did their job.
Then why does it matter if they're trans? Women can do the job, right? It doesn't matter if they're lesbians or gay, so if they're women, who the fuck cares?
Nobody cared. But they weren't saying, hey, I'm actually a female. I want to go live with the females.
Why the fuck does that matter if they're doing their fucking job, Steve? If the women are doing the job and the trans women are doing their job, then why does it fucking matter? You just said it doesn't matter as long as they're doing their job. So as long as they're doing their job and it's not preventing anybody else from doing their job, then why does it fucking matter? And how come, Steve, you only care about trans women and haven't mentioned in 30 minutes a single trans man? Not one time. Because here's the thing. Steve makes the assumption that if you're a trans woman, you're still attracted to women. So he's conflating gender identity with sexual interest. And those are not inherent. If you're trans and you're a trans woman, or trans woman, which means you were born biologically a man and you have transitioned or transitioning to female, that doesn't dictate who you're going to be sexually attracted to. A trans man is not inherently attracted to women, which is the whole bathroom issue. Because guess what? A trans woman might be attracted to women, or they might be attracted to men. And guess what? Lesbian women might be attracted to women! And they might both be women! Which means that you might have people that are sexually attracted to people inside the same bathroom! Oh my god! My brother in Christ! The fuck is wrong with you? Steve is afraid of to fall in love with someone who is a trans woman. Steve is afraid of dick, is what you're getting at. All this is men being afraid of men. That's all this is. This is sexism at best. A lot of people who don't like trans women because there's a fucking attitude that comes with trans women that benefits women. And it is the attitude that they grow up as men with the entitlement that men have in a patriarchal society. And so because they come with that attitude of, who the fuck do you think you are? I do what I want. Men don't like women who talk to them on the same level that they're at. Because I do that, and men get mad real fast. Because the expectation is skewed. Men don't like it when women match their energy. There's a lot of transphobic women. There absolutely are a lot of transphobic women. Absolutely. Absolutely. What comes next? Gender-neutral bathrooms in the home? I live with 2 men right now. There are 2 men that live in the same house I do. All of us use the same bathrooms. What Steve is saying about trans in the military today is what was said about gays in the military 30 years ago. Anna, when do you think Steve was in the military? Do you think it was 30 years ago? He's 55 this year, according to him in this video. It's almost like he's lying about what being gay in the military was like when he was in the military because he doesn't actually know what it was like to be gay in the military when he was in the military because he's not gay. Steve said he joined the military when he was 18, if I remember correctly. He also claims he was in Desert Storm, so he was in the military whenever Desert Storm happened. What year was that? Go figure. All right, let's let him talk for a little bit more, and then go, Steve.
Because the females
say something stupid.
That's BS. We don't want a man living with us. You know. And by the way,
stop speaking for women.
I'm gonna go say I'm right or wrong. Go ahead, but go read it for yourself. Really, go literally read what SCOTUS said. They asked the judge,
Hey, how about if you're going to tell people to go research something and look it up, you provide the source, Steve?
Mean by effectuate? Because that is beyond your powers. They even said clearly that it's beyond her power and that she needs to give due regard to the executive branch. That's what they said. I can give you the exact wording if you want. But the wording was basically, hey, judge, what do you mean by effectuate? Effectuate, we think this is beyond your power and that you need to give due regard to the executive branch. I implore you to all go read it. And also, it was not 9-0 either. That was another thing that the press put out. Stephen Miller actually repeated that too, and he's a conservative. He's MAGA, and he actually got it wrong too. It was not 9-0. In fact, it was unsigned, and it wasn't per curiam, which is not the full court. So could you say that it was unanimous? No. You know 3 people out of the court. 3 out of them. Right? So you don't know what the other ones were. You don't know what the other 6 were. So you cannot say that it was 9-0 because it was unsigned. It means that they did not all sign off on it. So you don't know what that is. It's ambiguous. But the big thing was they basically was telling the judge, look, you ain't got power to do this. You don't have power to order him back. But now she's, yelling and screaming, where is he? You need to give me constant updates. And she's probably going to get up and maybe even get impeached out of this. The other judge in the other case.
What? You think this judge is going to get impeached? Based off what, Steve? She's just screeching. Yeah, sure. That's not fucking emotionally charged language focusing on demonizing or delegitimizing women. Because Steve hasn't been fucking delegitimizing women and whatever this entire time.
The big thing was they basically was telling the judge, look, you ain't got power to do this. You don't have power to order him back.
Prove it. Show that's what that said. You haven't shown that. Go ahead. Do it.
But now she's, yelling and screaming, where is he? You need to give me...
She's yelling and screaming. Yeah, what an unreasonable woman to be yelling and screaming about the violation of the Constitution. Yeah, that's what the judge is doing. Because she's a woman. And that's what women do. Yell and scream. Steve, your language is telling. I'm gonna stop at the 4-hour mark. I already have it set up. We're gonna stop at 6.
Constant updates, and she's probably going to get up and maybe even get impeached out of this. The other judge in the other case, which
impeached for what? What is she going to get impeached over?
Was for the TDA gang members.
The Void in the chat, by the way, if you can't see it, let me scroll it up a little bit. The Void said, you're just wrong. SCOTUS was very clear that he must receive, what is that, habeas corpus privilege, as he should have in the first place, and that they should facilitate his return. Correct.
Trans de Agua, is that how you pronounce it?
Oh my god, he still doesn't know how to pronounce Trans de Aragua. Do I need to, pull up all the fucking ways that Trump mispronounced this very important gang, that it's so important that we circumvent people's rights to due process that he can't even pronounce?
He's probably going to get impeached because he's gone way beyond the scope of his powers as well. And he also has family members that are benefiting from this. He also has...
What? So family members benefiting from the position of somebody in power is terms of impeachment? So how does that apply to the Trump family, Steve? How does that apply to Eric and Don Jr. and Barron and Ivanka and Kushner and their significant others? Steve? No. Yeah, habeas corpus. Okay, I thought so. I will pull it up just for the sake of completion. Here's the Wikipedia. A legal procedure by which a report can be made to a court alleging the unlawful detention or imprisonment of an individual and requesting that the court order the individual's custodian, usually a prison official, to bring the prisoner to court to determine whether their detention is lawful. Relief, when available, is generally governed by equitable principles.
A whole cloud over him of how he got this case. I did an analysis, even with the
He did a bad analysis, and I already went over it.
those minimum and maximum regressors. And using artificial intelligence, I came up with about 0.02% chance of him landing that case by random lottery.
And his math was wrong, his statistics were incorrect on conception, and, of course, the intelligence he used was artificial.
Peoples did the same thing. They came up with a 0.03, so I was pretty dang close.
No, he was not.
And at best, it was 20%. I mean, that's at best. But the reality
there's a really big difference between 0.002 and 20%. That is not within a margin of error. I will provide the link in the description of me going over this math. I should be better at this math than he is. Should be. Apparently, I'm better at math than Steve is. What a world we live in. Go figure. I don't know.
It wasn't random. It appears he got tipped off by somebody.
It wasn't random and he got tipped off. Those are two different things. He was selected. The selection and having inappropriate knowledge are different things. Oh my fucking god. Actually, is this real? Like, are you serious? Are you actually conflating these things? What? Because you're conflating. Statistics don't go down or up based on the number of times you do it. So if I take a deck of 52 cards and I shuffle 52 cards, the chance of, let's say, call it the 4 of hearts. You know what? Hold on. I don't need to go anywhere. I have a d20. All right, this is a 20-sided dice, right? It's got 20 sides. It's a dice. I have a 1 in 20 chance of rolling a 20. So if I roll this dice, all right, I've rolled the dice, and it lands on a 19. I had a 1 in 20 chance of getting a 19. Right there, 19. All right, if I roll again, am I more or less likely to get a 19? I rolled a 5. If I roll again, am I more or less likely to get a 5 or a 19? I rolled a 19 again. Now, does that mean the next time I roll, I'm going to get a 5? Or does that mean I'm going to get a 19 every second time I roll? No, I got an 11. So what are the odds that the next one is going to be a 19? It was 18. Pretty close. You want me to roll again? I got a 2. Is this next one gonna mean it's gonna be a 19? Or a 5? Or an 11? It was 16. The answer is every time you roll, you have a 1 in 20 chance. So you have a 20% chance. It means that if you have a 20% chance, you have a 20% every time there's a draw. Idiot. Tipped off. Prove it, asshole.
And then he was on vacation, and he was not the on-call judge, the emergency judge. He was on vacation, and he got tipped off to it, and he wanted that case. And there was a lot of bias there. A lot of bias there.
Prove it, Steve. Show it. You know, he could be on leave and have an emergency and then get called back, right? When he's the one who has the expertise because there's a handful of variables that are applicable. Like I said, I already went over this. This is actually fucking crackhead insane.
And matter of fact, in another case, there's a lot of cases going on, but there's another case where demonstrates why these things happen. So I think it was the Colorado case where they had 137 Venezuelans ready to be deported. And the news is putting out that these are just, average illegal immigrants. No, these are like the main people of that gang. These are people that have killed people. These are people that have tortured people. These are people that need to be out of our country. But the judges and the Democrats.
How do you know that if they haven't had due process? How do you know who did what? You don't. You don't know. Because you haven't had due process. You haven't had a proper investigation. You haven't proved anybody did anything.
So much want them to stay. But this was out of Colorado, and the courts had determined that they had not done the court properly in the venue. They needed to do the venue through habeas corpus.
They already admitted that they didn't give this man due process, Steve. Stop.
Through Colorado, but instead I think they did it through Washington D.C. and they did a stay under the AEA, the Aliens Enemy Act.
No, they retroactively applied the Aliens Enemy Act. They did not get it approved ahead of time. They did that time exists, Steve.
They went right to the appeals court and to the Supreme Court at the same time. The ACLU wrote to both of the both to the appeals court and to SCOTUS to try to get an emergency stay to prevent these terrorists from being deported. This is what the ACLU does. The ACLU is the world's most evil organization on the planet, probably, because they're not giving.
The ACLU is the world's most evilest corporation. So does that mean that Steve doesn't agree with the ACLU when they said that, well, maybe Elon didn't do a Nazi salute? Yes or no? Aren't judges assigned to cases randomly? They're assigned to cases randomly. However, there are a handful of variables, like expertise. For example, Steve is against civil rights. You heard it right here. Yeah. Steve is a fascist. Steve is an authoritarian. Trump said so, therefore. That's all this argument has been so far. This is supposed to be, I would like to remind you, this is supposed to be Steve explaining why he has decided that he aligns with Maga. He hasn't done that yet. He's just talking about a variable one-off scenarios. He hasn't actually talked about policy. He's just been making excuses and putting out disinformation about somebody he knows nothing about.
Giving a damn about the people that live in America. They're not giving a damn about the victims of these gang members, the people they've killed, the people they've tortured, the drugs that they brought in. They don't care. They don't care about the women that have been raped, the children that have been raped. They don't care about any.
What children? What people? What are you talking about? People are gonna say that I fucking brought up this extreme scenario about Steve's child being assaulted or Megan's child being assaulted, but here we go. Things that they already brought up. Things that they brought up in the future. You don't care about your own child being assaulted? Because that judition is gonna happen in a country you have no control over? What are you talking about? You say that like America doesn't have a judicial system to deal with assault. Are you admitting that America's judicial system is shit at dealing with women being assaulted? Is that what you're saying? You don't care about, otherwise you'd be for due process. Bob is 100% correct. Absolutely. Honest Red is correct. That is what due process is for. No, Steve wants these people to be accused of assault and rape, and that those people's fucking innocence is irrelevant. Maybe they did it, maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. They don't have due process. So you accuse somebody, get deported as long as you're white enough and woman enough. Because woman is, you have to reach a threshold. Steve, am I a woman? Steve claims not to be emotional, but then immediately moves to 100% emotional arguments. What is a woman? What is this? This is disgusting. It's nonsense. Why would we bother even watching more of this? What more is there to bother with? This is supposed to be a logical, reasoned argument as to why this philosophical intellectual has decided fucking Maga is correct. We haven't seen a single logical argument yet. We haven't even seen a properly formed argument yet. All we've seen is cherry-picked, at best, data, which is actually just propaganda misinformation. He hasn't provided any citations or sources. He hasn't provided any proper fucking any. Go look it up yourself. Look up what? What are we supposed to be Googling? What are you talking about? He thinks the president is above the law. He doesn't care about the Constitution. It's nonsense. This is nonsense. Listen, if I was going to challenge Steve to a debate, it wouldn't be a debate. It would be me challenging Steve to sit down and watch What is a Woman by Matt Walsh with me. We'll both sit there and we'll watch it. How about that? He's Maga now. They don't believe in citation or facts now. He's been Maga for a while. He just didn't want to admit it. All this is an admission of Chesh was right and has been right for over a year. Yeah, I know. Thanks. I didn't need your approval. Yeah. And people wonder why I don't work with Steve anymore? You think that Steve fucking me over would have been like the reason I stopped working with Steve? Think this is about money? No. It's about consistency. It's about principles. It's about having a fucking spine. It's about not taking a brick to the face and being brain dead. It's not that difficult. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. You tell me in the comments down below if you want me to finish this video on Thursday. I'm going to be live talking about Catholicism deconversion with Sam, which is going to be great, over on Debate Hub, and I welcome you over there. It's going to be a good time. You should definitely come and check it out. If you want non-sequitur show styled content, you need to come over to Debate Hub. And I mean old school non-sequitur style content. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to get out of here. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Fuck that guy and his fucking YouTube videos. Stop listening to a man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you idiots!